Can he hang on in the OVO Energy Tour of Britain? Is he going to take the stage? Yes, he is!
Birkenhead Park on the Wirral Peninsula was the setting for stage 5 of this year's Tour of Britain. As usual, the attacks came from the start, but we had the unusual sight of the green jersey himself chasing them down. A quartet did manage to escape, including Jacob Scott once again in the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. They were greeted by huge crowds on the first climb of the day at Kelsall Hill, with Scott adding more points at the summit. Another jersey wearer, Rory Townsend, crashed on a corner and then had a second scare when he was trying to get back onto the group.
Oh my word!
Steve Cummings, though, wasn't quite so lucky, and the local hero was forced to retire from the race after a crash. The teams then had a preview of the final climb and the finish as they looped around the first ever public park. Danish rider Emil Vinjabo was the last of the escapees on the road and made a bid for glory, but he was soon reeled back in. With the kilometres ticking down, the second ascent of Flaybrick Hill proved to be a launch pad for attacks, with riders pinging off the front. But in the end it came down to a sprint, and whether anyone could beat a certain Flying Dutchman.
Now they launch for the sprint for the line. Here comes Lotte Soudal. Ben Swift getting up there. 200 metres to go. And Groenewegen now hits the front. Dylan Groenewegen, the challenge coming in here from the Great Britain national team. Trentin moves up, but Dylan Groenewegen takes the stage.
So a hat-trick of wins and a new jersey for Dylan Groenewegen, with the bonus seconds collected by Matteo Trentin in third, meaning the Italian was back in the green leader's jersey. Just 3 seconds ahead, though, of Mathieu van der Poel. Pershaw hosts stage 6 in the potentially decisive individual time trial. The race starts with the riders powering south out of town. The road rises slightly as they hit the halfway marker at Bricklehampton. The course then continues in an anti-clockwise direction around Worcestershire before heading back into the market town. The total distance of 14.5 kilometres or 9 miles could prove pivotal in this year's OVO Energy Tour of Britain. Sure, and this is the scene of this year's stage 6. The time trial stage, 14 kilometres in length, around about 9 miles, so should be over fairly quickly. The pain won't last too long for the riders, Janto, but it could make a difference to the top of the general classification today.
They're all painful, and it's all about obviously intensity and pacing. So the guys, I said it earlier actually in my recce, they're going to have to really get their pacing right because the wind is going to be a factor. If they get it slightly wrong, it's going to be very difficult to recover.
Hats off to the organisers putting this time trial where they have at stage 6 of an 8-stage race. A couple more days of racing after this, but it means that the riders are going to be motivated all the way to the end on Saturday in Manchester.
I do. I think it's a very exciting stage to have in here. It's kept everyone on their toes, you know, going for time bonuses and sprint wins with the seconds that are available there. And then obviously it's quite a different discipline now today where we've got this time trial, which is all about, you know, individual efforts against the clock. So it'll be interesting to see who can hold on and take the jersey today, and then whether they can hold it to the finish.
The first rider is now on the ramp. Great crowds lining the route today. Very knowledgeable bunch here in Worcestershire, and the same can be said as well for our commentary team of Rob Hales and Martin McDonald.
Thanks, Matt. Tristan Robbins on the start line, the first rider to start in today's time trial, 14.4 kilometres. The Swift Carbon Pro Cycling rider. He'll be followed by Rasmus Everson, Kern Baumann and Andy Tennant. They will be the riders behind them. And then the riders will start at 1-minute intervals up until the final 10 riders, when they will then be separated by 2 minutes. He will get the countdown very soon. There's a lot of anticipation going into these sort of starts, isn't there, Rob?
Most definitely. Really is. The riders, fingers crossed that they can get the best effort out they can. There are those in this race, it has to be said, who will not be vying for the win. They will certainly not be vying for the fastest time they can possibly come up with. It's about them just getting themselves through those who are looking out for their GC quality riders, they're sprinters. They've got energy to conserve. Some riders out there who can perform well in a time trial who have used an awful lot of energy up to this point. But 2 races within one, those looking for the stage win and those looking for general classification and trying to gain time on those around them, or those trying to limit their losses against the quicker guys over the clock.
You just saw Tristan just directing to the holder there, which direction he wants to go on. You want to get held as straight as possible at the start. It's not always easy, is it?
No, it's just got to be a little bit relaxed on the bike, and the more nervous you are at the start, you can feel that when you're holding the bike. You can feel that.
Well, good afternoon.
He's getting that countdown. We are ready to go. Away we go. The time trial is underway here. Tristan Robbins, the first rider to roll away. The general classification, it goes in reverse order. And Tristan Robbins, he sits 110th on the general classification, 51 minutes and 18 seconds down. And when you look at that time, it's been a tough race so far for Tristan when you look at the where he is.
Yeah, it's the thing is when you've got guys throughout the field and you look how far they are down on general classification, it's not always a sign. It's, go through the 40 kilometre to go, and that's I think there are every kilometre there is a banner for the riders to denote how far they've got to go, which on my part, it's a little bit cruel by the organisers, I think.
Rasmus Iversen on the start line here for Lotto Soudal, gets his ride underway. Does Rasmus, 21 years old, best young rider in this year's ZLM Electra Tour. Did a couple of wins last year as a part of that Lotto Soudal team. So the young Dane, Tristan Robbins, already out on the course here around Pershore. Great crowds in the beautiful market town here in Pershore in Worcestershire. And it's a challenging course out there as well today, Rob. The wind direction for the riders blowing across the course. So we'll get into that, the various wind directions that they will face on the circuit. Kern Baumann will be your next rider to start. Kern, as a rider, he has been on the front. If you've been with us so far this week in the OVO Energy Tour of Britain, he's been on there for kilometre after kilometre. Away we go. Kern Baumann gets his ride underway. Kern, when you look at his results over the last seasons, he was a member of that mixed relay winning team time trial team in the European Championships. But for him, this is a day off. He's a good time trialist, but he needs to save his legs and try and recover, in essence. Yeah,
he's certainly one of those riders who's got a different objective to his normal. He's got the performance. We know he can time trial extremely well. That's one of the reasons why he's on the squad in the first place. The amount of work that he has done on the front for Dylan Groenewegen, setting it up for the sprints. As we go back to Tristan Robbins here. First man out. Well, unfortunately, he doesn't have a minute man. He doesn't have a carrot to chase. It's all about him against the clock.
15 seconds to the start now for Andy Tennant of Canyon DHB. 10-second countdown. Andy Tennant rolls away. The 32-year-old rider, 2 times world track champion. He's won 9 European titles on the track as well. And a great pursuit rider. He's not had, you can see a lot of the cuts and scarring on his left leg there. He's been trying to recover a little bit as the week's gone on. But on a shorter time trial like this, does it suit someone like Andy Tennant coming from that pursuit background?
Most definitely. The sort of powers that Andy Tennant and the track riders have to deliver. It's extremely well suited to that. As we go out to another 12 kilometers to go, and every kilometer you get that banner. So if you're struggling, if you're hurting, which it doesn't matter how good you're going in a time trial, it is going to hurt. You just go a little bit quicker. So you get those kilometer banners, every one.
Torkil Vehe of Riwau Readiness. gets his ride underway. So you can see here, we'll see each of our riders to start. King of the Mountains in last year's Ronde Loire's race. I think that's the beauty of this race, though, isn't it? We could potentially see a complete surprise, a time trial winner come from absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those races where you don't always see the riders. Those on general classification, they're going to have to perform. Those in the top 20 really do have to perform today, and it's difficult because it's not always what their job entails.
5 riders on the course. Andy Tennant, Canyon DHB, getting his ride underway. Torkel Veje is on his way. Frederick Frieson now onto the start line. Frieson gets his ride, rolls down the ramp for Lotto Soudal. And Frederick, again, he's been in an attacking mood so far this week. And Frederick as well, when you look back through his results over the years, he was the national champion for riders without a professional contract in the time trial. So he's a good time trialist, is Frederick.
Yeah, it's when you look at those guys who can time trial extremely well, Frieson obviously is one of those guys, but he's been looking after Jesper de Voist, his teammate for the sprints. Currently sits 3rd on general classification, so there are those going earlier on who do have a real high quality time trial within them, but are they going to be given the freedom to actually perform at their best, or are they going to have to, or do they want to hold something back for the coming stages going into Manchester on Saturday?
Nielsen Stockbro of Rewild Readiness, the next rider to roll away. Andreas Stockbro, 22 years old, the winner of this year's under-23 Tour of Flanders. So, good pedigree as a rider out on the course here with Andy Tennant. So spending a lot of time out on the extensions rather than in the tuck position.
He is, especially on this faster section, but here you can see there's a little bit of a bend at the bottom and just not quite confident enough to stay on the skis, and I don't think we'll be seeing many staying down on those tri-bars as Tennant goes through 12 kilometers to go, and still a lot of effort to be done. 3:46 into his effort, so he's already kind of flooded with the lactic acid, and here it's just about holding it and maintaining it.
Tom Stewart, the next rider to get underway. Tom Stewart rolls down the start ramp for Canyon DHB, and not happy about his start there, wasn't quite settled.
No, just struggling a little bit there. Sore legs, sore hips.
Another member of the Canyon DHB team. It's, this year he's had some good placings in some of the semi-classics over in Belgium. Andy Tennant well into this position. He was out there wrecking the course a little bit earlier on today when we came down to the start. All of the riders you could see were out on the course, and Andy was rolling around on his road bike as well a little bit earlier on, I saw as well. So equipment choices and that kind of thing for riders. Johnny McAvoy is our next rider to start here for the Madison Genesis team. McAvoy gets his ride underway for Madison Genesis. Let's see what Johnny McAvoy can do today. He will be followed by Remy Mertz, then John Dibben. And then we're going to get the start of one of our potential favourites today. John Dibben's another one that could be a good one. And then we'll get Eduardo Affini, who will come just after Jonathan Dibben in the starting order. Andy Tennant just taking these corners you could see here. But again, it's going to be someone potentially, if they were coming out, if they're going to have designs on taking this stage overall, maybe getting out there on the bike and in the car as well. Remy Mertz on the start line here for Lotto Soudal. Remy, we've seen on the front many times this week for Jasper de Boist. Remy Metz gets going here. So again, just we'll get down into that time trial position. Just 24 years old is Remy. Spent a lot of this year working for his teammates, managed to achieve a top 10 in La Sama a little bit earlier on in the year. Andy Tennant. On the road with Andy Tennant's just gone through the 10-kilometre to go point in today's individual time trial. Back to the start ramp. John Dibben of Madison Genesis will be the next rider to start. Dibben gets his ride underway. Rob, John Dibben, again, pedigree as a track rider. We're already seeing the first catch of the day as Rasmus Iversen comes up to catch Tristan Robbins. John Dibben, stage winner, Tour of California in a time trial. A few years ago now, a couple of years ago now. But John Dibben, if he really goes for it today, he has got the engine to take this stage there. He could be one of our surprises.
Most definitely, he should certainly be up there in the stage overall today. And a lot of it comes down to the motivation of the rider. But I would imagine that John Dibben has certainly got the bit between his teeth today.
Eduardo Affini of Mitchelton Scott. He will have a really good carrot to chase here in John Dibben if he can get him into his sights. You just hear the beeps and the final countdown for the rider. Eduardo Affini of Mitchelton Scott rolls down the start ramp here. The 23-year-old Italian comes into this with quite a pedigree as a time trialist and Affini, a rider that we've looked at potentially. So looking at his recent form, third in the European Time Trial Championships. He was the 2018 European Under-23 Time Trial Champion. John Dibben here, we go back to 2017. He's with that Tour of California Time Trial stage victory. Former world champion on the track. Rasmus Iversen is now the first man out on the course. He's caught Tristan Robbins ahead of him, and he's going through the 6-kilometre to go point. Bernie Eisel of Dimension Data, next man to go. Bernie Eisel rolls away, popular man, so Bernard Eisel gets away. The next rider to go, again, will be another one of our potential favourites. That's Harry Tanfield of Katusha Alpecin. He will be followed by Mark Cavendish, Michael Kooming, Minas Bagdonis, Joey Walker and Ben Hardy. That is the next order to start here. Rasmus Iversen of Lotto Soudal, great position on the bike.
Looks absolutely superb, doesn't he, Iversen? The way that it all comes from the wrists. Back down. If you get your wrist position wrong, then everything else, it just can't follow. And you can see from behind, his head disappears. At this point here, you just can't see his head, and that's the thing. It's getting as flat as you can. Tanfield, he's a big rider. Once he gets underway, we will certainly see a good position as well. He's got the engine, but he's got the position. You put it all together, and hopefully you come up with a good result.
Harry Tanfield rolls away down the start ramp. We saw him in the breakaway on the day to Newcastle. So Tanfield, 24-year-old British rider, was up there in the time trial in the Bink Bank Tour. So he's still time trialing well. It takes a lot of work into his time trial position. Back out on the road now with Affini. So stage 4th overall in the Tour of Norway this week as well. There's a lot of people talking about Affini in terms of the World Time Trial Championships this week.
I mean, just look at the position here, the speed that he is going. The faster you go, the more aerodynamic you need to be. Huge gear. I don't know what chainring he's got up on the front. It's got to be a 56 or bigger, and he really is rolling that through that fast downhill section.
Mark Cavendish will be your next rider to go. Mark Cavendish to a huge cheer, a winner of a time trial stage of the Tour of Britain way back in 2007 in Crystal Palace. He took that time trial ahead of Trusov and Serov. And he took a 10th yesterday, and it was nice to see him starting to creep back up there.
Yeah, most definitely trying to get his form back. Today is a day, well, he will just use the course to find his legs, go through to tomorrow, and then look at that stage into Manchester. But yeah, coming back into form, and great to see the crowds really giving him that roar off the ramp.
Torkil Veja here is about to catch Andy Tennant. Just look at the flags, Rob, blowing across the circuit on this section.
Yep, a lot of wind out there today. Not too many open sections, certainly not at the moment. Obviously, the wind is coming from the other side of those bushes, but you've got to kind of judge your effort, really drive hard into that wind. And when you've got the tailwind where you're going really fast, that's where you can afford to just float it a little bit.
And that must help, again, as a rider. When you're out there, those little flags are up there. Then you're thinking, OK, because you've recce'd the course, but trying to remember, OK, this wind's changing here. I'm going to change from a crosswind to a tailwind. You're trying to, if you want to win the stage, it's anticipating, isn't it, going up through the gears as you go into a tailwind section.
Yep, there's around 9-10 changes of direction on the course today. The wind, as they start, it's kind of in their face, just coming across from the right-hand shoulder. And then as they go round, they turn up. It's kind of an anti-clockwise route. You then get a little bit of tailwind, but then it's cross headwind in towards the finish. So you've just got to judge that effort.
Eduardo Affini, you can see here, out onto the extension, straight back down into his aero tuck position. And again, as Rob said, you can see at times when you get into that position, the head almost disappearing. Gedminas Bagdonas, the national time trial champion of Lithuania. So again, all of these riders who ride into this with national time trial championship jerseys, they don't sometimes get the opportunities to race a time trial full on, do they? Because some of the times in the days, it's not their job.
But yeah, no, it's they have different roles. Sometimes you'll find one of the top time trialists from the team will be given a little bit of a helping hand and recovery. Chad Hager, rider who we haven't mentioned yet from Sunweb, could very well be up for today. We saw that he won the final time trial in the Giro d'Italia, and a lot of that was through the fact that he was allowed in the previous week to just hold himself back and save and conserve some energies.
There's your intermediate time check at Pershore. So Rasmus Iversen has gone through there in 9:47. Kern Baumann, 27 seconds down on him, and Tristan Robbins, so they can see there, 1 minute and 3 seconds down at that point for Tristan Robbins. But Rasmus Iversen, this will be the benchmark time for everyone to follow when Rasmus Iversen gets into the finish. Great time trial position that he has. If you're joining us today for the first time this week, going into today's stage, just a 3-second gap between Matteo Trentin and Mathieu van der Poel for the general classification. Jasper de Boist is at 10 seconds in third. Then comes Simon Clark in fourth at 17. 18 back to Mike Turnison. Then 22 seconds back to a group of riders, starting with Ben Swift in sixth. Then we go with Andre Amador, Armand Grøndal Jansen, Niels Pollitt, Pavel Sivakov, Thomas Sprengus, Teish Benut, Zandra Marisa, Gianni Moscon and Matt Holmes are all still within 22 seconds of the leader's green jersey. 1 kilometre to go now for Rasmus Iversen in towards the town, and now they get that, you can see the wind's just buffeting the rider here as he heads back in towards the finish.
He just got blown there towards the barriers on the right-hand side. Got to watch out for those feet, but it's a straight run in pretty much. Just a little bit of meandering with the road, but they'll soon be able to spot the finish line as they come through here with 500 metres to go now. First to finish, Rasmus Iversen.
Second rider out, first rider back in towards the finish. Rasmus Iversen, fastest rider at the intermediate time check. You can just see wrestling with the bike as he comes in towards the finish now. You'll see that line ahead of him. Rasmus Iversen now driving for home for Lotto Soudal. We'll see that line just ahead of him, just 100 meters to go, being roared on by a great crowd that has come out to cheer everyone through here in Pershore today. Rasmus Iversen stops the clock there with 17:53 above the line. These times are adjusted from time to time as well, so we'll give you that time there, and we'll give you that adjusted time. But that gives us an idea already, Rob, of how fast this is. So a smidge under 10 miles, 17 minutes and 53 seconds.
That's quick. That's very quick out there. And that's the thing, there aren't many sections where you've got to back off and slow down. You can run at most of the bends, some faster sections, and with the wind, if you can use that to your advantage, then all the better.
Torkil Vehe here, so 17:53 is the time that he will have to beat at the finish. 2 kilometers to go now for the Rewalt rider. Here comes Tristan Robbins in towards the finish. So Tristan Robbins of Swift Carbon Pro Cycling stops the clock there with 19:54.78. So for Tristan, you know, I think he'll just be happy to get that ride over today.
Back with Eduardo Affini.
Through the intermediate time check, and he goes through there. So Eduardo Affini is fastest out on the course. In towards the finish now, Kern Baumann, the next rider to finish. So
that'll be Kern Baumann finishing in the
1 minute and 28 seconds down, 18:25 for Kern Baumann.
Yep, Baumann just riding himself round today. Active recovery as such. Go back to Torkil Vehe. And now Affini really using this ride. I don't think he's holding anything back here whatsoever. He's got the wind just coming across there from the left as he goes into this right, just comes off the skis. Maybe a dab of the brakes, but unlikely, just trying to carry as much momentum as he can, carry the speed, then straight back on the power, down into the aero tuck position. Protected from the left-hand side, but really driving this, Eduardo Affini.
Is indeed in every single time trial he rides. If he's got designs on the world title in a couple of weeks, every single one of these is a good hit out, isn't it? From the warm-up all the way through the ride.
Huge stepping stone.
Torkil Vehe up towards the line now. You can just see how tough this finish is, right on the limits. These riders are. The final 100 meters here for Torkil Vehe.
The Danish rider is coming towards us right now in the
and he stops the clock with 17:43 for him. Out on the road with Eduardo Affini, so early rider. Frederick Frison is going to go fastest, and he does 16:59 for Frederick Frison. A new fastest time at the finish. Blistering time there. That shows how quick it is out on the course.
Wow, we're getting quick out there.
Absolutely huge time by Frison.
Andy Tennant it is now, the British rider heading
Andy
towards
Tennant
us.
up towards the line now, and he is outside. He stops that with a time of 19 minutes and 20 seconds. There is your leaderboard at this point. Frederick Frison goes quickest by 44 seconds with 16:59.
Beating for a while ahead of Torkil Vehe. The Danes well placed at this stage, but I should say they're well placed at this stage mainly because there's a fair few of them on
Andreas Stockbrugh will be the next rider to finish. Then Tom Stewart, Johnny McAvoy, Remy Mertz. This man's going quick out on the course. We didn't get an intermediate split there for Frederick Frison, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is out of the course. Going through that intermediate time check for Eduardo Affini compared to Rasmus Iversen. Iversen went through there in 9:47 was that intermediate time for him. We didn't have an intermediate split for Frison, but he looks quick out on the course, does the Mitchelton Scott rider. And again here, just trying to get for a tall rider as well, trying to get super tight in there. This is our current standings at the intermediate. So Affini now with 9:12. at the intermediate split. So 9 seconds up on Friesen at that point ahead, then 35 ahead of Iversen. 9 minutes and 12. That is quick.
Yep, that is a huge, huge effort there. And, well, we're expecting a good finishing time from Affini, and he's showing what he's got out there on the course.
Jacob Scott, the current leader in the Skoda King of the Mountains competition. He is out on his ride here. And the Swift Carbon Pro Cycling rider, he's just going to swing right here. So he's got his ride underway, and he's going to be followed as well by Lasse Norman Hansen. Another rider that spent a lot of Ks on the front, but never a rider, again, coming from that track background, never a rider that you can discount.
You can't discount him, but again, depends on his outlook for the race. He's had to do quite a bit of work, as you say, for Van der Poel, and he might have a little bit more work to do. So they might just hold him back a little bit today, just to try and conserve. But Lasse Norman Hansen certainly has the ability over a course like that, depending on how he prioritises the stage, obviously.
Andreas Stockbro will be the next rider to finish, and you can see outside that time there of Friesen, 16:59 was the time to beat. But Andreas Stockbro crosses the line there, and with 18:48 so far for Stockbro. On the road with Jacob Scott. So no challenge for Stockbro. And again, for Jacob, he's been in the breakaway day after day after day after day. He's got to use this as an active recovery here.
He has, and even so, interesting to see he doesn't have the rear disc wheel. Just going for the deep section front and rear. Front today, some will opt, the more confident rider will go for the deepest front section. But with the wind, if you're a smaller rider, a little bit more nervous on the bike, then you'll go for a slightly shallower section. Because of that wind, you don't want it to catch your front wheel. It's almost like your handlebars are being pulled from under you.
Tom Stewart, the Canyon DHP Blorholms here, driving towards the line. He's inside 100 metres. He's over 2 minutes down on our leader at the line at the moment, Frederick Friesen. So Tom Stewart stops the clock there with 19:09. So you can see above the line there, good enough for 6th at the moment.
Had a bit of a mishap on our start round this morning as well.
A lot of the British riders as well will have grown up riding this distance.
Super talented Tom Stewart at the moment.
Most definitely.
Race, of course, he's performed very, very well in the past.
This is one of those riders who will be used to this sort of time out on the bike. Harry Tanfield. Remy
Mertz for a lot of Soudal. Today, it's not about trying to win the stage for Remy Mertz. It's about trying to get those legs to recover.
Johnny McAvoy heading towards us there. The rider crossing the line.
We're seeing a 17:39 above the line there for Remy Mertz. We'll get confirmation of that one. Here comes Johnny McAvoy. So this is Johnny McAvoy. Remy Mertz was the rider just in front of him. Johnny McAvoy crosses the line there. So 19:39 we're seeing for Johnny McAvoy. So none of these riders affecting the stage result at the moment. Edoardo Affini driving now towards the line. Edoardo Affini, pressure up here, has been on the limit. He was fastest at the intermediate split with 9:12. What has he got at the line? And unfortunately, they've given it 16:39 there for Edoardo Affini. 16:39. That's even quicker. 16:59 was the time that he had to beat. 20 seconds quicker there for Affini.
Quality effort, absolutely. Expected from him, certainly, but 20 seconds ahead of Frederick Friesen. Early days, obviously, in terms of the riders going off, but one of the highlighted riders, a potential winner of the stage, setting the benchmark for everybody else to go for now. As Tanfield, 2 kilometres to go, just over 2 minutes left of effort.
There we have it. That's the order at the line at the moment. So Eduardo Affini, one of our pre-stage favourites, sitting pretty at the top of the leaderboard, 20 seconds ahead of Frederick Frison. Torkel Veja there at 1 minute and 4, 3 minutes and 15, separating those top 9 riders. That is a phenomenal ride by Affini. Jacob Scott from Swift Carbon Pro Cycling is out on the road here. 10 kilometres to go now for Jacob and for him as well. Time trial stage, it means no challenge today. There's no King of the Mountains positions today for anyone to eat into his advantage. So it kind of, he knows he's got it tomorrow again. Just
stage closer, isn't he? A stage closer to taking that overall.
I think looking at the way Jake's ridden this week, it's very much been that lesson from when he was up there and he had that jersey kind of almost cruelly snatched away at the end. He's learned from that, hasn't he? And that's what you've got to do as a young rider.
He's ridden smart, he really has, and he's obviously got the form. And another rider with form here, Affini, just that slow motion. You can just see how tucked he is, that position.
Very, very high on his armrest here to keep him locked in that position.
It used to, gone are the days of the low arms, trying to get as low as you can. Now you kind of bring your arms up, and what that does, it closes your shoulders down, pops your head in, get your wrists turned up, and you protect yourself. Here, again, Tanfield, really aerodynamic, super, super efficient, coming up to the finish line, all the way up to the finish line. The better time trialists, they stay on the skis right through the line as opposed to getting out of the saddle.
Harry Tanfield, what has he got at the finish? And it's a 17:16 for Harry Tanfield. A good time, but not challenging for the victory. And you can see that he picked up Bernie Eisel on the way for Eisel. Again, just get through the time trial. It's Harry Tanfield. We talked about him as a potential stage winner, but he's up there. Again, for Harry, if you can get a top 10 here today in some really good time trial companies, another solid performance.
Yep, he's been there before in that sort of position. So, yep, a good solid ride by Tanfield.
Pershore Town FC, thanks for your land art. We have a little land art competition going this week, so good to see them getting involved here on the Evo Energy Tour of Britain. So Eduardo Affini, true to form, you would say here at the moment, is sitting at the top of the leaderboard. Nice to see the Welsh flags out and flying. Talking about equipment choices here for Jake Scott, the lower carbon wheels. Some of the smaller teams don't quite have the equipment to be able to allow the riders because they don't ride a lot of time trials.
They don't. Well, that's the thing. It's very rare that some of the smaller teams do have that opportunity to ride at a time trial at this level, certainly.
Mark Cavendish getting roared up towards the line here, so not challenging for the time trial, but a solid ride nonetheless with Mark Cavendish, 17:49.
There he is.
For Cavendish, as we said, he won a time trial way back in 2007. Very short prologue time trial on that occasion.
Do you know what though? 17:49 over this course. He's not hung around there.
That is a good. That's what I mean. He has gone for it in this time trial. You can see the effort on the face there of Mark Cavendish. And again, for Cavendish, every ride back, every effort like this, it's all trying to find that form again. Gedminas Bagdonas, the Lithuanian national time trial champion. A great-looking kit, isn't it?
Well, he's either saved some and he's bringing it home hard. Look how quick he's going here on this section. Absolutely driving it here. We've seen him up the road on many occasions into his final 30 seconds of his effort here.
So that's 16:39 for Affini, but Bagdonas putting in a solid time trial here today for AG2R Le Mondial. And he's all no guts, no glory in everything that he does. Gedminas Bagdonas, look at the effort now of the national champion of Lithuania in that time trial. A skin suit, proudly bringing that one home. And again, a good time here for Bagdonas, and he stops the clock with a 17.16, fourth quickest at this stage for Bagdonas.
For today's stage.
He's a great rider, isn't he?
Rocking and rolling there. Like I say, absolutely holding nothing back. Giving it everything out there, honouring his jersey.
Puts all the emotion into his ride, isn't he? Beautiful aerial shot here around Pershaw. And we're here in Worcestershire. We have one of our pre-stage favourites sitting at the top of the leaderboard. Can anyone beat it that time? 16:39. Joey Walker moving in towards the finish. So some of the riders that we won't see is Mike Cooming, my apologies. Mike Cooming now coming up towards the line here for Madison Genesis.
Ignore that one, he's off much later. So
just now stops the clock, 2:44 down, 19:24, good enough for 17th.
You can see their first rider coming in on the road race rig with the clip-on bars. And again, as we were talking to some of the teams now, I don't know if he's had a bike change. May have had a bike change out on the course, we didn't see.
Rob Scott from the aerial shot here from Wiggins Lacole. Looks like he's having a few issues here, Rob Scott, potentially. Away we go, Canyon DHB getting their ride underway. Hector Carretero is the rider that is out on the course. Alex Coleman. Rob Scott's having a bit of a mechanical here for Wiggins Lacole.
Well, it looks like he's stuck in top gear. He's having the issue, it seems, that Harry Tanfield had a couple of years ago. Just trying to roll the bike over. Don't know where his team car is behind.
Joey Walker, the next rider to finish, British Criterium champion for Madison Genesis, sees that line ahead of him. So he stops the clock, 18:43.71 for Joey. So Alex Coleman, we saw that go underway. Jack Bauer will be a next rider to go here. So Rory Townsend, the Iceberg Sprints leader, has just been caught for a minute by Jacob Scott, the Skoda King of the Mountains leader. He's not hanging about today if he's caught Rory Townsend, has he?
He's giving him a nudge, isn't he?
There's your leaderboard at the finish. So Eduardo Affini still leading. Frederick Frison by 20 seconds. Gediminas Bagdonas there from AG2 Mondial now up at 37 seconds. Harry Tanfield is at 38. So Ben Hardy, this will be coming in towards the finish here. Ben Hardy of Swift Carbon Pro Cycling. And again, he's not going to challenge. He's a couple of minutes outside the time of Eduardo Affini. So another Brit just crosses the line there. 18:50.71 for Ben Hardy. Again. And it's sometimes when you look at the times of the likes of Affini, it's when you see a time there of 18:50 for this distance, it's still a really, really quick time, isn't it?
Quick, it really is. Yeah, when you bear in mind where they're at, they haven't been sat highlighting this event through the week. It's been off the back of the previous stages with the residual fatigue in there, but. Obviously some good legs still out there. Scott now getting into his ride. Looking back though.
Connor Dunn of the Israel Cycling Academy team, the big Irishman. He's, again, a really loyal teammate is Connor Dunn. Everyone just, quite a few riders catching each other.
That's Norman Hansen here. Not one, but two carrots to chase.
It really helps you, doesn't it, when you get into this position, when you've got multiple riders.
Yeah, especially the back end, the further into the ride that you can go, then when you're starting to fatigue, it just gives you something else to focus on. So you've got the vehicles up ahead of you, you can see them. And then when you see the rider, you spot them, you just chase them down, pick them off one at a time, quite literally here, as Lasse Norman Hansen is doing.
So Ben Hardy would have been followed by Dries de Bont, Matt Bostock, Sam Jenner and Rory Townsend. Jacob Scott will be the next riders to finish, but Matt Bostock up towards the line.
All day yesterday, and Matt Bostock 2 minutes down on Eduardo Affini, our current leader.
Matt Bostock of Canyon DHB crosses the line. Dries de Bont will be the rider behind him. Rob Scott of Wiggins Le Col's having a few issues with his bike. Dries de Bont hands up along across the line. Just over 20 minutes for Dries de Bont. Samuel Jenner, 18:10 for Samuel Jenner. So again, a good time. Our fastest time at the moment is 16:39 by Eduardo Affini. It looks like from the helicopter that Rob Scott is stuck in top gear here, so grinding his way round this time trial course. The helicopter pans back. It's got no team car.
No team car. Well, that's a little bit of a strange one.
There's the intermediate time split. Affini is leading Lasse Norman Hansen by 7 seconds. So the Corendon Circus rider, as we said, he could be a rider again, an outsider for the day today. And this is him out on the course, the former Olympic Omnium champion on the track. He's been a world champion in the Madison as well. Great track rider is Lasse Norman Hansen from Denmark. These are the days when he gets his opportunity to ride for himself. So that intermediate split, that's a solid time behind Affini. Can he bring this one back up towards the line now? 16:39 is the time that he's got to be at the line. But Rob, the run-in is tough here.
It is, and I think he's just going to finish outside. I think Affini finished extremely quick. But what a ride, and well, we were expecting him to be able to do something like this. He's going to be outside, but a good solid effort, and he's obviously been given the freedom today to go for his own glory.
He has indeed. Here he is, you can see him. He'll see that line ahead of him. And again, it will be a good judge as these times come in as to which point they hit and whether they're going to challenge Eduardo Affini. It'll be a good gauge as to where they are. You can see he's just outside the time at the moment. He's just going to be over the 17-minute mark. 17:01 for Lasse Norman Hansen. So it shows again, Rob, just how tough the run-in, and we're going to be able to gauge where the riders need to be in order to knock Affini off the top of that leaderboard.
Well, if anybody is able to do that, it is going to take an almighty effort, it has to be said.
Peter Williams here, Pete Williams, number 186 for Swift Carbon Pro Cycling. So again, the Swift Carbon team, they've got their TT bikes. They're using the lower profile wheels compared to some of the very deep section carbon wheels and disc wheels. What would have been your wheel selection on a day like this?
On a day like this, depending on the wind and how buffeting it is, and depending on the sponsors, because there are some deeper section wheels which handle a lot better than some of the narrower, shallower rims. But for me, it would be the full TT rig, so a deep section, 60 millimeters or more on the front, at least 60 mil, I think, and then the full disc wheel on the back. Yeah, it's all about aerodynamics here. The more confident you are, the bigger you can go on your kit, especially when it's windy. If it's a float day, then you could almost get away with double discs potentially, if they were allowed. Back in the day when you used to see the double discs, but no, you do get dragged a little bit.
Onto the start now. So into the start gate, Ethan Vernon, the next rider to go. James Fouché now for Wiggins Le Col is the next rider to finish.
Well, the next of the Team Wiggins
so Fouché,
riders
you can
coming
see
towards
outside
us,
the time, still that time of Eduardo Affini standing the test of time here. 18:06 for Fouché.
That's a decent ride, 1.5 minutes down for James Fouché. He's the Kiwi national road race champion.
The good time trialist is James Fouché. We saw him on in the breakaway on day one. Just throws the bike at the line there. And just checking in over on Twitter, because we're going to have a bit of we'll see them finish next. Next finisher will be Eric Rousel. And a little shout out to Joanna Rousel. And she's just said catching up on Twitter. So good to have Jo Rousel alongside us as well.
She was quite good in her day, wasn't she, on the bike?
She was, yeah. Sasha Modulo of EF Education first is the next rider to go. Sasha Modulo, great sprinter, is the EF Education first rider. Pete Williams, former double jersey winner in the Tour of Britain. So Pete Williams well into his ride here. Case Boll is also out on the course. So Modulo is following Vernon, also out there at the moment, Gabs Calaig. The next rider to go will be Tronson, then we'll have Niels Eekhoff, Boris Valet of the Wanty Group Gobert, Matt Walls, then Dylan Groenewegen will be the next riders to get their rides underway. Tronson here from another of the Wanty Group Gobert riders. You can see the equipment choices, all the riders just starting their computers before they roll off the start ramp. Håkon Tronson from Norway starts this ride.
He's out of the start ramp and out into the 14.4K course.
Here comes Eric Rousel towards the finish now. So Rousel not going for the stage today. But Rousel being chased in as well.
Carretero, it is from Movistar, the Minuteman for Joe Rousel. For Joe Rousel. Eric, sorry. Sorry, Joe, you're much better looking than your brother, it has to be said.
Hector Carretero here from Movistar in towards the finish. There's the man in the hot seat, Eduardo Affini. It's more of a throne than a hot seat today, isn't it?
He's looking comfortable there. He might have to sit there for quite a while as well, quite possibly all the way to the finish.
Indeed, Niels Eekhoff. Eekhoff from somewhere rolls down the start ramp here. Next riders coming in towards the finish. So we've had Hector Carretero, Pete Williams will be the next rider to finish, then Case Boll, Mark Renshaw and Rob Scott. After Dylan Groenewegen, who we mentioned, so a few riders to start after them. They're going at minute intervals. Then we will have, we will watch, interestingly, with the starts of Alex Dowsett with Chad Hager right behind him.
Yep, and in the meantime, it's the sprinter Sasha Modulo, who is out on the road now as we go back to Pete Williams, just in the final few seconds of his effort.
So not challenging that time of Eduardo Affini. Williams, we've seen him in the breakaways. And again, trying over the final couple of stages.
Of the Obo Energy Tour.
Rider
Pete Williams headed towards us right now.
Finishes with a time, stops the clock there with a time of 19:10
We expect to see
Pete
him
Williams.
in the breakaway in the next 2 days.
So good finish there. Pete Williams, 19:10. So Case Boll should be the next rider to finish, then Mark Renshaw, Rob Scott, Jim Brown, Jens Debuscher, Wesley Creeder, Alex Coleman, and then we'll have Jack Bauer. I haven't seen any time splits for Jack Bauer. It's again, he's a good time trialist, is Jack Bauer. It depends how his legs are feeling after the last few days.
I managed to catch up with him before the start, and he's a little bit tired. He spent an awful lot of time on the front looking after his teammate Macho Trentin. So I think he'll be just getting himself through today, Jack Bauer.
Case Boll. Case Boll up towards the line, and again, the sprinter stops the clock there. 18:56. Mark Renshaw right behind him. So Renshaw just almost catching it there. 18:04 for Renshaw. So 18:04 for Renshaw. So these riders just trying to get through this time trial. So those that have got designs on the stage. This man, though, 3 stage wins already. Dylan Groenewegen from Jumbo-Visma. And again, for the sprinter, it's a day off of sorts today to try and let those legs recover from the sprint efforts of yesterday. Arguably the world's strongest and most successful sprinters of his era. This is your current standings at the finish. Affini 20 seconds ahead of Friesen, Norman, Hansen, Bagdonis, Tanfield well up there. Dibben still in that top 10 as Dylan Groenewegen is about to get his start underway. Dylan Groenewegen, the sprinter for the time trial today. It'll just be about getting through this one. He's had his stage wins already. 3 sprint wins so far in this race. What a lead out Mike Turnison gave him yesterday.
Absolutely incredible finish. Delivered as we go back to another sprinter, just slightly lower gears than some of the top time trialists, and that's well, that's to be expected.
Alex Dowsett looking resplendent in his British national time trial champions jersey on the start ramp. The 30-year-old Brit, 6 times national champion. Can Dowsett take the stage today? Away we go. The British time trial champion, Alex Dowsett, rolls away here for the Pershore time trial to a big roar from the crowd. A popular man. This 14.4 kilometre time trial that the riders have to tackle today. Former time trial winner back in 2011 in the individual time trial. Rob Scott has had a few gear issues out on the course. So 1929 for Rob Scott. 1929 for the Wiggins man. So 16:39 to beat Alex Dowsett. You can see they're getting his ride underway. He seemed that sort of nervous expectation when we spoke to him before the start. Chad Hager of Team Sunweb has the British national champion to chase.
Jim Brown
just finishing there, 1904 for Jim Brown. So Alex gets his ride underway, and again, having Chad Hager behind him, that could drive him on here.
Well, yeah, he's got to try and not think about that, and it could be an issue also for Chad Hager. It means that the chances are he's not going to see his Minuteman. Well, if he does, then it's not going to be a good ride for Alex Dowsett, certainly.
Jens de Bucherer is going to head up towards the line. Great crowds out. Pershore and de Bucherer, the sprinter. De Bucherer stops the clock, 18:41 for de Bucherer. So the Katusha Alpecin man, can his teammate Alex Dowsett take the stage today? Another one of his British teammates, Harry Tanfield, is up there in the top 10 at this stage. Out on the road with Dowsett.
Well, Dowsett, he was relaxed out of the start gate, but when you see him go round, saw him go round that first right-hander just a couple of 100 metres after that finish, carried an awful lot of speed, and then he was straight down into that tuck position. Very efficient. No pins on the back there. No ruffled up number. Absolutely spotless, that, isn't it?
In his interview before the start as well, he said, we've had some conflicting reports from people, haven't we, as about how this time trial course is riding. Alex was one of those riders that said, you know what, there's not really an awful lot of places where you have to touch your brakes.
No, it's carry a lot of speed.
Finishing so thick and fast.
On the bends, you can carry an awful lot fairly open.
Halfway point, we're focusing very much on the finish.
Preda now comes into the finish. 2:08.96 down. Again, just the rider getting himself through today. But Dowsett now really attacking this downhill section. Just last minute comes off the skis onto the cow horns at the bottom of the bar.
Jack Bauer, Mitchelton Scott, the New Zealander, is a good time trialist, this Jack Bauer, but how much have the effort of defending the lead for Matteo Trentin taken out of the legs? That's a good ride here by Jack Bauer. Stops the clock, 17-17 for Jack Bauer. So he's really gone for it, has the New Zealander. Not the stage win, but that is a good time.
Well, it just highlights the form that he's obviously got. He is tired, and he looked a little bit drained just before the start. The amount of work that he's had to do.
Our current standings at the finish. So Eduardo Affini still leading Frederick Frison. Lasse Norman Hansen well up there. Bagdonas in 4th. Jack Bauer now slots in to 5th. Level on time with Harry Tanfield at 38 seconds. Then we're 1 minute and 4 back to Torkil Veja. Mark Cavendish, John Dibben, both still inside the top 10 at the moment. And Rennie Mert is at 1:13. Eddie Dunbar rolls away here for Team Ineos. Dunbar. Breakaway on the day to Kendall. He's got Davide Chimolai to chase. Chad Hager, we've talked about as another potential winner of today's stage. A big favourite in the time trials is Chad Hager. So Bauer's finished. Reese Britton is the next rider to finish. Reese Britton's being chased behind by Connor Dunn. Another one of our young British riders is Reese Britton. 20 years old, this year's national points race champion. Stops the clock with a 17.50 for Reese Britton. 17.50 for the young Brit there. And you just see this to burst open the zip of his skin suit. Ben Perry is the next rider to go here for the Israel Cycling Academy team. So this team again growing all the time, aren't they, the Israel Cycling Academy?
Yeah, growing in stature, certainly. They've had a good tour of Britain up to now, certainly with David Chimolai.
Chad Hager on his ride. Here's Connor Dunn. He's got the finish within his sights now. There's the man from the Israel Cycling Academy team. Again, he's been doing a lot of work this week for Davide Chimolai. Big efforts by Connor Dunn. Again, just over a minute or so down on Affini, so still a solid time here for Connor Dunn. 12th at the moment, 17.54 for the Irishman. And again, you can see, not hanging around here. That was a good time by Connor Dunn.
Yeah, good effort in out there for the big guy, tallest guy in the peloton.
Out on the road with Alex Dowsett.
And he's got Dylan Groenewegen in his sights here. Dowsett comes up to the car. And the car just spots the British champion in his mirrors, swings out for him, allowing him a clean run through on this this twisty section of the course.
And great to see the lines here of that Alex is taking through these corners. He's got 9 kilometers to go.
Yep, shortest route through. And well, complete difference in style here, and well, not a surprise at all. Dylan Groenewegen already with wins under his belt here in the sprints. It's just about getting himself through here. Relatively relaxed for the Dutch sprinter, but anything but for Alex Dowsett, British time trial champion. This is a full-blown effort for him.
Again, it's great to see the contrast of the different animals within cycling. Your sprinter with your time trial rider there. It's great to see side by side on that shot.
Complete contrast in styles. Again, Sasha Modolo, sprinter.
Roy Curvers will be the next rider to finish. So Curvers from Team Sunweb. And again, you can see that time of Eduardo Affini. He's still sitting well. Over 2 minutes down at the moment for Roy Curvers. Stops the clock, 18:50.25 for him. Now, Jos van Emden, Team Jumbo-Visma, the Dutch national champion, gets his ride underway. How much have the efforts so far this week taken out of the legs of Jos van Emden, the 34-year-old Dutchman this year, the current time trial form? Third in the time trial at the Bink Bank Tour, the national champion. He took the prologue time trial in the ZLM Electra Tour a little bit earlier on, just before the Tour de France got underway. Third in the time trial in this year's Tirreno Adriatico, way back at the beginning of the season. And of course, a stage winner in the Giro in 2017 in the time trial. He's another one of our favourites, Christopher Nopper. For Sport Vlaanderen Baloise, we've seen Christopher in the breaks so far this week. Finishes with a time of 18:49.77 for Christopher Nopper. Good shot here. The time trial position of Van Emden. And again, really low on here. Alex Dowsett, 7 kilometers. There's the time check there. Hopefully we'll get a time split on what Alex Dowsett is doing out on the course. 9 minutes and 12, remember, that intermediate time check was the time that he had to beat of Eduardo Affini. The clock is ticking there, so looking at that, he could be there and thereabouts in terms of that time. We'll get confirmation of that one, but the British time trial champion looking to try and take the stage victory today. Gabs Calaig, the sprinter, is going to stop the clock in 18:46.44 for Gabs Calaig. Jos van Emden is well into his ride here, and again, Rob, you just see him measuring his efforts on the little climbs that we've got around the course.
Yep, Van Emden solid on the bike. Sometimes it can be hard to judge the speed of the rider when they're so smooth. Here, back with Dowsett. He's been in top gear for quite a while, going quick, down the gears, straight up onto the to the bull bars, and then straight down onto the tri-bars, getting himself as tucked and as aero as he can.
So Alex Dowsett, Chad Hager behind him. Hopefully we might see Chad Hager go through that intermediate split as well. There's Chad Hager out on the course. So stage winner, the time trial, that Verona time trial in the Giro d'Italia for Chad Hager. Mikael Landa is about to get his ride underway here for Team Movistar. Landa rolls down the start ramp and gets away. The time of Chad Hager was a hilly time trial as Ethan Vernon comes in towards the line. 18:09 for Ethan Vernon. The next rider, Ed Laverick, just picked up there, 19:17 for Ed Laverick.
In the colours of Swift Carbon Pro Cycling.
Another one of the Swift Carbon riders out on the road. Can the British time trial champion, he said in his interview before the start, he needs to win bike races. This is what he does best when he gets these opportunities to ride for himself. He had a tough day in the general classification terms in his ride towards Kendall, but you can see he's in full flight here. Sasha Modolo of EF Education first is now heading up towards the line. That benchmark time that everyone has to beat is 16:39 for Affini. You can see well over 1 minute and 20 down for Modolo as he comes in towards the line. A rider that we would expect to challenge, 17:51. And now Alex Dowsett goes to the top of the leaderboard here on stage 6 by 1 second. That's the intermediate time split for Alex Dowsett. So out on the course, 9 minutes and 11 seconds. That is very tight.
Just that 1 second, but when we saw with Lasse Norman Hansen, he was a lot closer. He was only about 9 seconds off the time of Affini. Affini really drove it in, I think, so he's got to hold on here, Dowsett. He's really got to drive this in, this final couple of kilometres. Absolutely everything, a negative split this, bring it back. It's no good dying off.
Dylan van Baal, Team Ineos, the next rider to go. Dylan van Baal has Aaron Verwils to chase. The Team Ineos rider, Dylan Van Baarle, the man that was in that breakaway to Kendall. Didn't quite work out for them. Van Baarle, again, is another strong time trialist, Dylan Van Baarle. If he decides to go for it, Van Baarle, he's someone, again, he could challenge.
Dutchman.
Could perform so well against the clock.
Niels Eckhoff.
Eckhoff here, Niels Eckhoff there. Not going to challenge. So Eckhoff finishes. Then it'll be Boris Valet will be the next rider to finish. Then Matt Walls. Then Alex Dowsett will be the next rider. So we're not far away now. 16:39 is the time that Alex Dowsett has to beat. He was 1 second up on Eduardo Affini at the intermediate time split. Looking through some of the time trialists that we've got to come on the back end of the stage. Some other riders that we've earmarked: Tony Gallopin, Luke Durbridge, Cameron Mayer, Niels Pollitt, the teammate of Alex Dowsett, is someone that we've been talking up quite a bit as well. Mikael Lander is throwing himself into this time trial here. He's going for it here.
Yeah, just missing a few of the couple of the lines, the race lines, just off that to the outside on a couple of occasions there, especially the left-hander.
Boris Valet is going to stop the clock there, and 19:06 it looks like for Boris Valet.
Well, Dowsett, here he's got the carrot to chase. He's already caught Dylan Groenewegen. So is this Matt Walls, potentially, the GB rider?
Well into his ride, Alex Dowsett, again, defending or getting back that national time trial jersey this year. Comes into this 5th in the European Time Trial Championships. Was disappointed with that ride. And then now, again, this will help him, just picking up the riders in front of him. Goes in tight on Matt Walls there.
Pick a side, any side.
Does.
Just get through safely, and he does just about there.
He is just hugging that line here. Back out on the road here with Mikael Lander. So these riders that are not up there in the general classification. It's a good time trialist, nonetheless.
Well, yeah, and it's a test as well for Lander. 11K to go for him, but he's a GC rider, and at some point in your career, you do have to perform well at the time trial. Okay, he's underperformed here in terms of his Palmares up to this point, but this could very well be just a test for him, a hit out on the TT bike, because it's not often that you get a chance to ride without any pressure under a time trial conditions like this throughout the year with a number on your back, certainly for a top flight general classification contender, as we see here with Mikael Lander.
And it's good for riders like Mikael to try and go through the whole mental process. Into Pershaw, Alex Dowsett now pushing for home. That time that he has to beat, Eduardo Affini, 16:39 for Alex Dowsett. He's almost got to be sprinting for home now. He's got another rider in front of him. Can Alex Dowsett give himself the dream finish? You can just see him in the distance there as they come up towards the line. He's got Boris Valet to chase down. 300 meters to go now for Alex Dowsett. You can see him just shifting through the gears, being roared on by the crowd here in Pershaw. He was 1 second up at Eduardo Affini at the intermediate time check. What has he got at the finish? Alex Dowsett looking for the finish, and he's just outside. He's lost time, 16:52 for Alex Dowsett. So up at the intermediate time check, it just shows how strongly Eduardo Affini has finished this time trial.
Yep. As I said earlier, Affini really did drive it in. It showed that against the time of Lasse Norman Hansen. And Dowsett just dipping off a little bit there. And there you can see through the out the back of the finish area. And just turning the legs, trying to clear that acid out.
Chad Hager will be behind him. We'll see what Chad Hager does at the finish. Back out onto the course with Mikael Lander. Let's update you. The current standings at the finish. Still Eduardo Affini in the hot seat, 13 seconds ahead of Alex Dowsett. Frederick Frison, one of our early starters, still at 20 seconds there in third. Lasse Norman Hansen, still a solid ride by him at 22 seconds. Here comes Chad Hager up towards the line here for Team Sunweb. He's caught Dylan Groenewegen here for a couple of minutes. We haven't had any idea of what Chad Hager has done out on the course, but again, it's a good time for Chad Hager, but he's not going to challenge Affini. 17:07.45 for Chad Hager. So again, that will put him up in the standings. So the leader still Eduardo Affini of Mitchelton Scott has gone through the second half of his time trial like a rocket. Will he be in that hot seat come the finish? So Chad Hager there, finishing 17:07 for him. He's done a lot of work in the lead-outs. Jos van Emden here. Again, these strong time trialists that are a little bit further down in the general classification. Just negotiating and picking off these riders in front of him. So for Jos van Emden, he had Omer Goldstein in front of him for the Israel Cycling Academy, and the car just gets pulled out of the gap there as well.
Yep, Van Emden, again, carrot to chase, which is a great help, a great motivation for you, especially at this point when you're really under your effort. You can't afford to get too excited and really drive down on them, but it just gives you a little bit of something to focus on.
There we go, a little bit of moving land art at the Peshawar Football Club, Peshawar Town. Back out on the road here with Mikael Lander. He's got a good time trial position, hasn't he, Mikael Lander?
He has, and a lot of the GC guys, the more climbing and tour-orientated riders, do tend to struggle a little bit. But I think Movistar have done a decent amount of homework, certainly.
Sebastian Langefeld. Langefeld gets his ride underway, so Langefeld will be chasing Florian Stork. And just in front of him as well, Carlos Verona has also got his ride underway. And Sebastian Langefeld, the next riders start. Ben Gastauer, or Axel Domon it is, my apologies, that's just crossing the line there. 18:20. Axel Dumont. And then the next rider to finish should be Eddie Dunbar, followed by Ben Perry, Jake Stewart, and this man, Omer Goldstein. So after him, it will be Jos van Emden. Van Emden comes past Omer Goldstein. Must be quite demoralising sometimes when someone goes past at that pace.
To be fair, I think for Omer, it would be more demoralising just seeing the start sheet and seeing that Jos van Emden is a minute behind you. I think the morale has gone before the start.
Ryan Christensen gets going here. Christensen, he'll be chased by Julien Vermotte from Dimension Data. A good time trialist is Julien Vermotte, and then Otto Vergada. Then we will have the start of Tony Gallopin. So those are your next riders to start. Then we'll get Jimmy Janssens and then Luke Durbridge. Eddie Dunbar, the Irish rider, not going to challenge, but a solid time trial by Eddie Dunbar, 17:28.85.
Very good TT by Dunbar, I think, to stay that close to the likes of Affini.
49 seconds down on the lead.
And here comes in towards the finish now. Davide Chimolai. Chimolai stops there. 18:46 for Chimolai. So caught there by Eddie Dunbar. The sprinter, here's Julien Vermotte, double stage winner in previous editions of the Tour of Britain. He gets his ride underway as Vermotte wore the yellow jersey after he took that stage into Kendall years ago. It's the Dimension Data rider. At that time, he was with Quick Step Floors. Hasn't quite found the form since he moved over to Dimension Data. Had that opportunity to have a little bit more freedom. Hasn't quite worked out for him. The Dutch time trial champion here, Jos van Emden. And Jumbo-Visma, they've done a huge amount of work with their TT sponsors and bike sponsors.
They have it across the board as well with their training, their nutrition, and obviously their performances in Grand Tours, in races throughout the season. Absolutely highlighting the work that they have put in. As we go to Dylan van Baarle. Well, looking good out on the course here at the moment.
He is indeed, and he turns right. You can see there that change of wind direction that Dylan van Baarle will get at this point. As we said, he's a good time trialist, is Dylan van Baarle. On his day, depends if he decides to really go for it. Jos van Emden, though, digging in here. You can see the time that he's running at the moment. On the road with Jos van Emden here on stage 6 of the Ovo Energy Tour of Britain. 14.4 kilometre individual time trial. The beautiful market town here of Pershore really have come out to support the race. Jos van Emden was a pre-stage favourite. This man, AG2R Le Mondials, Tony Galopin. Galopin is a good time trialist, as well is the Frenchman. We were talking about him in terms of the general classification going into this race. Galopin gets his ride underway. The 31-year-old Frenchman. He's had stage victories in time trials in his career. What can he do today?
Ahead and around the main field, going ahead.
Jake Stewart in towards the finish.
Our rolling road closure.
18:20.
Another British rider
Stewart.
crossing the line there.
Perry should be the next rider to finish after Stewart. Jos van Emden in towards the line here. Jos van Emden. Now pressing on that time of Affini. See what he can do at the line.
Jos van Emden,
see the clock. Jos van Emden's just outside, but a good ride by the Jumbo-Visma man. Under 17 minutes, 16:55.12 for Jos van Emden. Close, but not close enough.
Yep, close but no cigar for Van Emden, but again, I think it just highlights the ride that Affini has done, and that information that will have gone back to his teammates from that earlier ride. Most notably for Matteo Trentin, but also for Luke Durbridge, very soon to start.
So those riders that we're watching out for. The intermediate time split, Dylan van Baarle goes through with the new fastest intermediate time by 4 seconds from Alex Dowsett and Jos van Emden. Eduardo Affini, who is fastest at the line, and this is Dylan van Baarle here, is 5 seconds down at the intermediate. Chad Hager was at 10, Lasse Norman Hansen at 12, Friesen at 14, Bauer at 17, Bagdonis at 19, and then Niels Eekhoff. That's your top 10 at the intermediate split. We said Dylan van Baarle could be a potential favourite if he decides to go for it, clearly.
Thought he was looking good out on the course. I mean, how can he not look good anyway? Look at the setup that he's got. But he's riding out there incredibly well. But as we've seen highlighted already on a couple of occasions, that Affini has obviously saved something for the back end of the race. Have these others? Has Dylan van Baarle gone out just a little bit too quick? It's obviously a good guide, that halfway point, but it's all about crossing the finish line with the quickest time.
It is indeed. In towards the line now. So should be Philippe Valschleben, the Corendon Circus rider. Again, for these riders, they've got to be mindful of the legs for the days to come. For Mathieu van der Poel, 17:49.65 for Valschleben.
Not a bad time. Certainly got some work to do on his position, unlike this man here, former under-23 world time trial champion back in 2011. And early on in his ride, we've missed him coming out of the ramp, but he makes a second negotiation, the second turn of the course here as he comes out. Luke Durbridge well and truly into his ride now.
He is indeed this year's national champion. You're getting to see all the national champions' skin suits here today. Durbridge, quite interestingly, decided to go for a bottle here as well.
Probably more aero with the overall package. And it's the sort of distance you don't need a bottle, but don't need a drink. Whether we'll be seeing him go for it.
Emil Vinjebo, that was in the breakaway yesterday. Was Vinjebo, 17.46 for Vinjebo. 17.46, so still our early starter, Eduardo Affini, 12th rider to go here today. Is still sat in the hot seat, but will that point at the finish be taken by this man, Dylan van Baarle? A great season that he is having. Started that off with a win down in the Herald Sun Tour and backed that up. And there's he's
nervous.
He's looking
a little bit nervous.
Slight
apprehension there, and not surprisingly so.
It is indeed. So Affini out there, and Dylan van Baarle is heading in towards the finish. Just explain what you talk about when you talk about a negative split in terms of riding in a time trial and looking at your target time.
It's basically conserving energy, going out steadier and then bringing it home. So riding quicker on the second part of the course, or at least delivering a bigger proportion of your effort. As we see Michael Landa now coming in just outside, minute and a quarter. From Affini.
17.55 there from Michael Landa, the Spanish rider there from Team Movistar. The next rider to finish will be Dylan van Baarle. Aaron Verwils was out on the course. Van Baarle here, let's have the clock. 500 meters to go. It's gonna be touch and go here for Dylan van Baarle.
He's going to finish outside, so he hasn't, as Affini seems to have done, he hasn't negative split, he hasn't saved something for the back end. He's gone out quick. He's only got 10 seconds now to cross the line, and I think the line is not going to come to him quick enough.
Dylan van Baarle, 16.39, the time that he had to beat here for Eduardo Affini. Sees that line ahead of him. He was up at the intermediate time split. He's
Dylan
just outside, 16.46.83 for Van Baarle. So again, it shows that Affini had gone out. He'd done his recce and absolutely nailed this.
Delivered his effort, yep, absolutely delivered his effort perfectly. Van Baarle just off a little bit.
A huge sigh of relief again. Eduardo Affini in that position. He's been there. Will he be there at the end? 16.39, 7 seconds ahead of Dylan van Baarle. He was 4 seconds up on Affini, was Van Baarle at the intermediate time split. Alex Dowsett, the British time trial champion, still sat there in 3rd place. So Jos van Emden, good ride there. Chad Hager in 7th at 28 seconds. So we're out on the course. Cameron Mayer to his ride here. And again, Cameron Mayer for Mitchelton Scott. Another man. He goes for this one. Last year's Commonwealth time trial champion. 13-time world track champion from memory. So again, he's got that time trial engine.
13, unlucky for some.
Not for him, though.
Not for him. Yeah, incredible bike rider, Cameron Mayer. He had a season out from World Tour, but he's back into it, back at his best.
He is indeed, and is riding the Mitchelton Scott team. They really look like, as you would expect, they're really going for it today. No riders really, you can see, are taking a bit of an easy day, being mindful of the work that they've got to do for Matteo Trentin, Julian Vermotta going through there. So riding well at the moment. 9.12 was Affini's time at that intermediate time split. But remember, Dylan van Baarle and Alex Dowsett have both gone quicker at that point. But Affini had managed to drive home over the course of the second half of this time trial here today and still sits at the top of the leaderboard. But we have some strong time trialists still to come. Remember, out on the course, Tony Gallopin, Luke Durbridge, Cameron Mayer. Luke Durbridge here, the national time trial champion of Australia. And again, these twisty roads, you can see just slicing through these country lanes around Pershore today.
Well, I think for me, Luke Durbridge is probably one of the last riders out on the course, those left to finish, or to start their ride even, who could probably challenge Affini, I think.
One of the best.
Every rider that crosses the line now, Affini is a step closer to a stage win, but it's not done and dusted as yet.
1844 for Timo Willems. Timo Willems, he'll be followed home by Sindre Lunke, then Carlos Barbero, then Gastauer, Carlos Verona, Florian Stork, and then Sebastian Langefeld. Those will be the next riders to finish. Out of the back end of the riders, Cameron Mayer, who started, then we've got the likes of Gianni Moscon, Niels Pollitt, are those sort of riders as well that may challenge. Niels Pollitt, who goes close to the end of this one. But Luke Durbridge, one of the last time trial victories away from the national championships from Luke Durbridge was the 3 days of Dupana time trial that he won. Heading home are colours of Riwal Readiness. Sindre Lunke, so no challenge here. So over 2 minutes down for Sindre Lunke, 18:52.65. So 18:52 for Sindre Lunke. For Riwal, Carlos Barbero will be the next rider to finish. Cameron Mayer, again, you can see the real high cadence that Cameron Mayer rides.
I was just going to say that higher cadence, a lot of that comes from his track pedigree, track background. Still can't shake it off, even in his full-blown road career.
The helicopter just picking up Tony Galopin out on the course. The Frenchman for AG2R Le Mondial. So in towards the finish now. Carlos Barbero is the next rider to finish. That's the graphic for Carlos Barbero, who is here. So Ben Gastauer has just picked up Carlos Barbero out on the course. That was Ben Gastauer from AG2R Le Mondial that was finishing. Galopin for AG2R Le Mondial. So Durbridge goes through the intermediate time check. Hopefully we'll get a split as to how the Aussie is doing. It looks quick looking at that time at the moment. Out on the road with Luke Durbridge on the stage 6 time trial. He's gone through the intermediate time check. We'll get a confirmation on what he's done there. It was Dylan van Baal that was the new leader at that point, but he didn't manage to hold it to the finish. It's still the teammate of Luke Durbridge here from Mitchelton Scott, Edoardo Affini, the Italian, that is sitting in the hot seat. And looking at the way the Mitchelton Scott riders are going here, Rob, Luke Durbridge, Cameron Mayer, they could potentially fill a lot of the top spots. Connor Swift rolls away here. The rider representing the Great Britain national team here. Races now for Arkea Samsic. And again, Connor Swift, clearly, a lot of work done on this position.
Straight into it there. Very efficient, straight down, and then through that first bend, and accelerate up to speed.
Florian Stork coming in here. Good time for the Team Sunweb rider. Stops the clock, 17:24.73 for Florian Stork.
Anyone within a minute of that current lead.
You have driving the home there, the Sunweb rider. So next to finish will be Langefeld, then Christian Vermotta, Vergade, and then Galopin. Those are your next riders to finish.
Tradition of strong German time trials.
Sebastian Langefeld goes through there with a good time, just 6 seconds down. They just flashed back there, just outside. And Sebastian Langefeld for EF Education first. Looked, he was about 6 seconds down at the finish. We'll just get a confirmation of that one, but a very quick time there from the EF Education first rider. The Aussie time trials champion, Luke Durbridge. So plenty of these riders to finish today The last 10 riders will go at 2-minute intervals. There's our current standings at the finish. So still Eduardo Affini sitting at the top, 7 seconds ahead of Sebastian Langefeld, who puts himself up there now into second place, 7 seconds down. So level there with Dylan van Baal. Alex Dowsett, he gets pushed down to 4th now. Jos van Emden is in 5th. And then you have Frieson, Norman Hansen, Hager, Bagdonis and Bauer. So Eduardo Affini from Mitchelton Scott still in that hot seat.
You've got to say for Affini, he's been there that long in that seat. If he does get shifted out of there before the finish, he's going to be slightly disgruntled.
It's going to take a monumental effort here today to do that, in terms of looking at the way the likes of Dowsett, Van Baal, and those riders have gone through that intermediate time split, and the way he's ridden the second half of this time trial.
Yep, extremely even on the way in, and that's the thing. It's no good going through the first time check way in ahead of everybody else if you cannot hang on to that. If the fatigue sets in and your back legs go, that's it, you just lose time. A lot of it depends on the wind section as well. If you go too hard with the tailwind, when the wind hits you and slows you down, you've just got nothing left to give. But again, that real high cadence that you mentioned earlier, Marty, really, he's going quick here, but his legs going round extremely quickly.
I think what Cameron Mayer, I've been really lucky over the years commentating various World Cups on the track, and it's amazing to watch Cameron Mayer on the track. Danilo Vis gets his ride underway here for Team Dimension Data. A solid rider, not someone that we expect to challenge in the time trial. This man, though, Tony Gallipan, we're picking him up from the aerial shot. Julien Vermotte here coming in towards the finish for Dimension Data, just as his teammates start. And he's been a regional time trial champion in Belgium. That's in his career. Stops the clock, 17:37.84.
On that of Affini.
For Vermotte, you can see there. Ryan Christensen now finishing as well. 2 minutes down, 18:47 for Ryan Christensen. There's the slow-mo shots there. Finishing. So out on the course. So Danilo Vis is on the course. Next to go will be Larry Warwasser from AG2 Mondial, then Ben Hermans, James Shaw, Mikkel Scherel, Tom Van Asbrook and Matt Holmes. Those will be your next starters. And our next finisher will have Otto Vergade and Tony Gallipan. So Tony Gallipan from the aerial shot here. It's a good ride. We're just seeing where he is. He's into the cones. He's into the funnel at the finish. That clock is ticking, and he's outside the time of Affini. 16:39 was the time, but this is a good ride by Gallipan.
It is a good ride. He's got 9 seconds to get himself across the line. It's going to be touch and go. I think he is going to be just outside, but very close indeed.
So Gallipan there just clicks over the 17-minute mark for Gallipan.
Be about 30 or so seconds
And he
down there.
finishes at the time of 17:07 for Gallipan.
Good ride. Very good test there for Tony Gallipan.
So it shouldn't be long now before we see the arrival of Luke Durbridge, the Australian national champion. Gallipan throws his bike at the line there, out on the road with Cameron Mayer. The Mitchelton Scott rider, it's his teammate that's sitting in the hot seat. Could they potentially go across the podium today? The Mitchelton Scott riders, they put so much time and effort into their time trialing, don't they?
Yep, with the kit, equipment, position, and the timing of warm-ups, warm-downs, everything absolutely crucial. And that delivery of effort, the all-important delivery of how you actually go out there and perform on the day.
Serving up what the riders are going to have left.
Otto Vergade, you can see the work done for Mathieu van der Poel. He just rides through the ride today, 19:08.16 for Vergade. And this is Jimmy Janssens, an extra rider to finish. So So Jimmy Janssens will be chased hard by Luke Durbridge. You can see the lights in the distance behind Janssens. Durbridge is behind him, and he's not far away from him. This is a good ride as well by Jimmy Janssens. He's still within a minute of Affini, 17:34. So that with Durbridge behind, we'll see what that is at the line. Here comes Luke Durbridge up towards the finish now. And is he going to go quicker? He's just marginally outside. Luke Durbridge stops the clock, 16:47. 71 for Luke Durbridge. Close, but it's still his teammate at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, bragging rights at the dinner table, unfortunately for Luke. He's not got the better of his teammate. Eduardo Affini still sits on the top step, still in that hot seat.
With Luke Durbridge crossing the line there, it's still Affini at the top of the leaderboard. He leads Langeveld, Van Baal there. Durbridge slots into fourth, pushes Alex Dowsett now down to fifth. Van Emden, another one of our pre-stage favourites, in sixth. Tony Gallopin slotting in there in ninth. It won't be long now before we see the arrival of Cameron Mayer. Luke Durbridge had Mikael Golash behind him, then Cameron Mayer, and here he is, number 46. The multiple, many times world track champion, last year's Commonwealth time trial champion, 15:52 and counting for Cameron Mayer as he rolls down in towards Pershaw. Get that little downhill run, get a little bit of a kick up towards the finish. He just goes into there, 1 kilometre to go. It's going to be outside the time, you would say, of Eduardo Affini. Looking at where he is at this stage, Cameron Mayer, though, has been spinning that gear beautifully out on this course, but it looks like another one of his teammates is just going to be outside the time.
Yeah, just a little bit off the top time of his teammate, but Mitchelton Scott, they're really packing their riders up today. If there is a team award, I think they'll be looking for that today.
Mikael Golash here from Team Ineos, the Polish rider, in towards the finish now. And that rider again, he will have Cameron Mayer breathing down his neck here on the run-up towards the finish. They're banging the boards towards the finish, and it's going to be a minute 20 or so perhaps for Mikael Golash. Crosses the line there, 1:19 down, 17:58.90. There's Cameron Mayer. Mayer digging deep here in towards the finish, grits his teeth, and it's just over 30 seconds down for Cameron Mayer. 17:12. 17:12 for Cameron Mayer. Solid ride. It's not to beat today. So that's right there. So the next rider to finish after Cameron Mayer will be Brent Van Moor, then Alex Edmondson, another Mitchelton Scott rider. Gianni Moscon into the start gate now, the Italian. Solid time trialist is Gianni Moscon, as a lot of the Ineos riders are. We'll see what Moscon can do in the time trial today. 10-second countdown for the Italian. Away we go. Gianni Moscon gets his ride underway here for Team Ineos. Then we're getting in towards, we're getting right to the back end of this stage today. In terms of the general classification, when we get to Pavel Sivakov, then we go out to 2 minutes on the final 10 riders to start here today. So Moscon will be followed by Zandro Marisa, then Teish Benut, Thomas Sprengers, and then we get into our top 10, the first of which will be Pavel Sivakov. As Moscon goes one way, Edmondson goes down the other side for Mitchelton Scott.
Soon into his ride, the former Italian champion, as we now see. Alexander Edmondson, another Mitchelton Scott rider. What can he do here? Could be a good performance.
So next to the Mitchelton Scott,
and it is not far off.
He is going to be outside the time of his teammate, but they're really packing the top 10 here. The 16:59.86 for Alex Edmondson. There, another good ride there for the Mitchelton Scott man. What a team.
What an effort, all the way to the line, gritting his teeth.
There we have it. So there's your top 10 at the moment. Current standings, Eduardo Affini leading from Sebastian Langerfeld, Dylan van Baal. Luke Durbridge is still in there. The top 10 for Alex Dowsett in 5th. Jos van Emden is 6th. Frederick Frison. Then you have Alex Edmondson, Lasse Norman Hansen, and Tony Gallopin. That is your top 10 at the moment. 28 seconds separating the top 10 overall. Out on the road here, Gianni Moscon, tucked down in that time trial position. You can see beautiful front end of that bike that they've got there with the aero bar set up.
Got to be careful on this this early section here, slightly uphill.
Laying down the watts on their bikes today. This looks like Alexander Camp coming towards us on the finishing line. The Dane, good ride by Camp. Stage winner, of course, in this year's Tour de Yorkshire, you may remember.
Getting towards the top 10 out on the road here with Gianni Moscon of Team Ineos. Again, another rider that we potentially highlighted as someone that could be a target. Winner of the stage today, Tej Benoot. It's his ride underway, and Thomas Sprenger's Pavel Sivakov and Niels Pollitt will be your next riders to go. Alex Camp has just finished. He will be followed by Mark Donovan, Lucas Eriksson, Eduardo Sepulveda, and Mark Christian. That target time of Eduardo Affini at the finish line of 16:39 is standing the test of time at the moment. Lots of, quite a few riders have gone quicker at the intermediate time check. And now we have a new leader. Daniel Kangut goes to the top of the leaderboard at the current standings on the intermediate time split. 9:04 for Daniel Kangut. A rider no one mentioned, and that's exactly what we said coming into this one. It could be a rider that gets their opportunity to just go for it today.
Yep, and a good solid performer in the past, Kangut, but yeah. Not one that anybody, I don't think, has highlighted for today. As we go back to Moscon here, still fairly early on in his ride. If you're starting to hurt at this point, then it's all over, especially with the way that Affini has ridden in towards the finish. The second half has been so solid for him.
Now the Wiggins-LeCole rider now in towards the finish. So these times, Mark Donovan. Big contract for Mark Donovan next year, moving up to the World Tour. This is going to be just about a minute and a half down on Affini, so 18:10.70 for Donovan. 18:10 for Donovan for Wiggins-LeCole. Just a minute and a half down on that time. So the time today, so the distance of today's stage, 14.4 kilometers. A lot of expectation around this man today. Pavel Sivakov, the Russian rider for Team Ineos. In terms of his time trial prowess. Gets his ride underway. Pavel Sivakov rolls down the start ramp here. The 22-year-old Russian. I was looking back at some of his time trial form. Hasn't had an awful, we haven't seen him an awful lot in the individual time trials where he's been going for it. A lot of the stage races that he's won this year have been all road stages. So again, he's had a silver medal in the national championships last year, so we're not quite sure again what we could expect.
Well, we're now getting into the realms of guys starting now in the top 10. They're all at 22 seconds from Macho Trentin, so that's where we get the race within a race.
Eriksson from Sweden, 18:36.58 for Eriksson. So the Swedish national road race champion. This is the man that's setting things alight out there on the intermediate time splits. Daniel Kangut from EF Education first. He's gone through quickest, but we've seen that so far, haven't we? Riders that have gone quicker and then not managed to keep it to the finish.
Just die off, yep, just level off a little bit. That's the thing, you've got to hang on to that. And sometimes when you've gone out and set such a scintillating first half, get through the first time check, And often that is because you've just gone a little bit too deep, just got to get a little bit nervous and go out there and deliver too much.
Mark Christian, 17.23, so within a minute. That's a good ride by the Brit. 17.23, still good enough inside the top 20 at this stage for Christian. Where do you think these riders need to be when they hit that sort of 500-meter point? What sort of time do you think they need to be carrying to knock Affini off the top of the leaderboard?
It's going to be they're going to need to be within around about 500 meters, around about 31, 32 seconds, something like that.
Daniel Kanga has just caught Connor Swift out on the road. So the EF Education first rider is flying out here on the time trial today. 16:04, so he could be there and thereabouts to Daniel Kanga. Again, touch and go.
Certainly performing and punching above his weight, I think, for the standard of the times that have come in so far. Can he hang on to this? This really is a big ask for him.
It is. It's literally just trying to cling to that speed and effort now for the man from Estonia, Daniel Kanga. He can see that line ahead of him. He's got 10 seconds to do it. He's going to be just about outside, I think, for Daniel Kanga. 16:39 that he has to be. He's got 150 meters to go up towards the line. He was quicker at the intermediate time check, but this is one of the best time trials we've ever seen from Daniel Kanga. Stops the clock just under 10 seconds down. 16:49, 60 for Daniel Kanga. Surprise ride there by the man from Estonia.
Very quick. Certainly put him up, I think, just ahead of Alex Dowsett. Just behind Luke Durbridge in 5th place now on current standings on the stage.
So a little under 10 seconds, just a fraction under 10 seconds there for Daniel Kanga. So it's good when you see this as well. Riders, you see that ability that we don't always get to see. Connor Swift crossed the line there. Let's have a look at our current standings at the finish. Eduardo Affini still 7 seconds up on Sebastian Langefeld. Dylan Van Baal in 3rd, still at 7th. Durbridge in 4th. Kanga now slots into 5th place at 10 seconds. Dowsett hanging on there in 6th. Jos van Emden still in the top 10 at 16 seconds. Then you have Frederick Frison and Alex Edson at 20. Lassie Norman Hansen at 22. Ahmed Grøndal Jansen, the Norwegian road race champion for Jumbo-Visma, gets his ride underway. Now up towards the line, Christopher Hamilton here for Team Sunweb. So just over 30 seconds down here is the Aussie. So good ride. So he's going to be around the 40 seconds down now. 17:19.83 for Christopher Hamilton. And Chris Hamilton will be followed in. Danilo Viss, Larry Warbasser. Then we've got Ben Hermans, James Shaw, Mikkel Scherel, Tom Van Asbroek, Matt Holmes and Gianni Moscon. Those were the next riders to go, to come across the line. The next riders to start will be Andre Amador of Movistar, Ben Swift, followed by Mike Turnison, Simon Clark, Jasper de Boist, and then we get into Mathieu van der Poel and Matteo Trentin. Gianni Moscon just about to swing right here. You can see those flags, they're still being buffeted by the wind.
Yep, just carrying Moscon. Just missed the apex of the bend there a little bit, but he's got that motorbike to chase. 6 kilometers to go for Moscon, former Italian time trial champion. And he's using the wind to the best of his ability as we now go to Niels Pollitt for Katusha. Very tall, lanky rider, but a nice position on the bike all the same.
Niels Pollitt, again, a rider that we have been looking at again. He's been runner-up in his national time trial championships this year. He could be someone that could potentially close the gap in the GC. Andre Amador for Movistar into the start gate, ready to roll his ride underway. Gets that countdown. Andre Amador gets going. You were talking a little bit about Amador before the start here, Rob.
Committed, yeah, committed. He can perform well in a time trial. It's not his strong ability, but the thing is, any of these guys now, certainly those starting in the final 10 riders, all within 22 seconds, it's not necessarily about the stage itself, it's about limiting losses, as we now see Larry Warbass crossing the line. Good solid ride by him, 41.78 down. But it's about limiting your losses to those around you in terms of the general classification, so that those guys up in the top 10, they're not necessarily the strongest time trialists, but it's about how they perform, relatively speaking, to those other guys.
Pavel Sivakov, just 22 years old, is Pavel Sivakov, one of the most exciting riders currently on the circuit. But you look at the build of Pavel Sivakov in terms of, and again, the time trial position that he's got on the bike, and again, he's a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, good all-rounder, solid all-rounder. That's what he's going to have to be as he grows, matures and develops into a general classification rider, which looks like that certainly he's got the ability to do that. And if you are a rider looking for a multi-day racing, looking at the performances there, you have to time trial as well. It might be your weakest part of your armory, but you still have to be a quality time trialist all the same.
Ben Swift of Team Ineos on the start grid, about to roll down the start ramp. What can Ben Swift do here? Again, he's ridden very strongly throughout the week to have himself in the top 10 overall. He wants to maintain that position or even try and move up here. We'll see one of the best time trials we've seen from Ben Swift. That's what we need. Ben Swift gets his ride underway into his Team Ineos skin suit today. You've been watching so far, the national time trial champion Alex Dowsett started earlier on, and he's still sitting in 6th place in the time trial is Alex Dowsett. Still up there in the top 10. Ben Swift wants to potentially keep himself within striking distance of the jersey. He needs a big ride today. Next rider, James Shaw. James Shaw, again, he's had a great week, has James Shaw. A little bit off the pace in terms of the stage victory, but a 17.46 ride there by James Shaw.
Just getting back to what I was saying.
So it's 22 seconds that are separating our top 10 at the moment. He's had a good week, James Shaw, isn't he?
Superb. Absolutely superb week. And, yeah, performing. Former World Tour rider looking to get himself back up there if he can.
Pavel Sivakov goes through that intermediate time split. Sure, we'll get that fed back to us as soon as they have it. Sivakov, you can see, fully committed to this ride today. He's got Matthew Holmes, Tom Van Asbrook, those riders in front of him that with this sort of ride, maybe we'll start to pick up those carrots in front of him. Ben Swift on the climb.
Swift now on this early section here. You've got to get over this as quick as you can. You want to spend the shortest amount of time going slow, which is the drag, but you've obviously got to deliver it in an even way, and you don't go too deep, especially early on in the ride.
Nico Charel, just a little matter of minute 20 down at the finish. The AG2R Le Mondial rider, 18:04.18 for Nico Charel, as Mike Turnison rolls away here for Jumbo-Visma. What a lead out again he did yesterday for Groenewegen.
Yep, and certainly a rider who could perform well here today, but again, it depends on his ambitions. But the way his hips were hunkering down, jumping out of that first right-hander there, he certainly looked committed to his start, at least.
Gianni Moscon, you can see all over the bike here at the moment, Gianni Moscon. It's always, again, Rob, to compare positions, because sometimes the way someone like Moscon wrestles the bike, it's you look at the sort of fluidity of some riders that don't even move.
Some are so solid, aren't they? Anchored down onto the bikes. Others move just a little bit. But ultimately, it's about how quick you travel the ground in a straight line. So position and technique can be deceptive at times.
Tom Van Asbroek from the Israel Cycling Academy team. Again, Tom Van Asbroek's had a good week in this race as the Israel Cycling Academy team rider. And he's going to be outside just over a minute and a half, minute 40 down for Van Asbroek, 18:19. For Van Asbroek. Simon Clark, the Aussie here for EF Education first.
Very, very consistently so far. Waiting
Matt Holmes is in sight of the line now. Matt Holmes, so just over a minute down. That's a good ride by the Brit. 17:44 for Matt Holmes. He's got Moscon not far away. So Moscon catching Matt Holmes. Matt Holmes has done a good ride here. 100 meters to go now for Moscon. Grimacing under the effort. Good ride, just under 30 seconds. Gianni Moscon, 17:05 for the Italian.
Good ride.
17:05, just 11th. We can see on the clock above the finish there at the moment. Back out on the road though with Pavel Sivakov. Sivakov's got Niels Pollitt in the front of him. So we've got Mike Turnison has gone, Simon Clark has gone. The next rider to start will be Jasper de Boist. He will be third from the end, and then it will be Mathieu van der Poel, and the last man to go here this afternoon will be the man wearing that green leader's jersey, Matteo Trentin. He's still there. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Puffs his cheeks. Well, if you can pull this off, it'll be worth the wait, that's for sure. Home and dry just yet, but with every rider it's looking better and better for Affini.
It must be agonising though to sit in that seat all afternoon and then someone at the back end just come and steal
just
it.
Takes it, yes. I would imagine so.
But that's bike racing. Xandra Marisa here, this man we first caught a glimpse of when he won the King of the Mountains, was a stagiaire with Wanty Group Gobert. This is the race that he got his pro contract with that team though. Xandra Marisa here, and he stops the clock inside a minute, 17:31. I would say probably at the moment anything inside a minute to Affini is a good ride here.
It's an absolutely quality ride. Most definitely over this distance. The conditions that we've got out there over the route, it is obviously a very fast route.
Jasper de Boist for Lotto Soudal. Countdown goes. Jasper de Boist, the third rider from the end to start here today. De Boist, see what he can do in the time trial. His teammate Teish Benoot is about to finish as he starts, and that's just over 30 seconds down. 34, 17:13 for Teish Benoot. Back out on the road with Pavel Sivakov, and you can see how he's sort of digging in on some of these windy sections.
Yeah, big gear, just really churning it round. Solid on the bike, not moving too much, just a little bit on the upper body and the head, but very efficient, extremely powerful position, turning those gears around, a complete contrast to the likes of Cameron Mayer, who we saw earlier from Mitchelton Scott, really holding that higher cadence, feet going round very quick, but here slow, but travelling a much further distance per revolution of the pedal.
2 kilometers to go now for Pavel Sivakov. Remember, we've got the battle here for the stage victory as well, but what we're going to have to try and keep an eye on as well is those seconds in terms of the general classification. All that whole group of riders that are at 22 seconds all the way down to Matthew Holmes. Let's have a look at our intermediate time splits. Sivakov second fastest at the intermediate point. Daniel Kanga went through there in 9:04, 1 second ahead of Sivakov. Van Baarle at 3. Remember, the man there in 10th at 8 seconds is Eduardo Affini. So all of that top 10 at the intermediate have not managed to knock Affini off the top come the finish. This is into the unknown for many of us. Mathieu van der Poel, the cyclocross rider, the road rider. What can he do in the time trial? We haven't had many opportunities to see him go in the time trial, but he gets his ride underway. Mathieu van der Poel now rolls down the start ramp. As we said, it's a bit of a trip into the unknown here. We haven't had many opportunities to see him against the clock.
We haven't, and he looked committed out the start, relaxed, fairly calm, but extremely positive out down the ramp and straight up to speed. And it is a little bit of the unknown here for Van der Poel, and certainly for us on the outside. But it's an effort that would suit him in terms of that cyclocross mountain bike ability.
Thomas Sprengers, 64th there for Sprengers. Here comes Sivakov into the finish. Sivakov, he had gone quickest at the intermediate check. Remember, Eduardo Affini built that speed all the way in towards the finish, so the riders that have gone quicker than him, and Sivakov as well has not managed to maintain that advantage over Affini come the finish. Sivakov stops the clock, 16:56.10 for Sivakov. Eduardo Affini lives to fight another day.
It's all about that second half, isn't it? And as we saw, Affini only 10th quickest through that first time check, but really bringing it home.
What can this man do? The Mitchelton Scott rider, Matteo Trentin, sat up in the start gate, calm and ready. Managing to take that jersey back off the shoulders of Mathieu van der Poel yesterday with that third-placed sprint. That gave him the bonus seconds to put him back into the race lead. Can he maintain it through the individual time trial here? 10-second countdown. 14.4 kilometers awaits the Italian. Away we go, the last man to start, Matteo Trentin of Mitchelton Scott. Can he maintain that jersey today? Rob, will this help him having Van der Poel in front of him?
I think it will. He knows exactly what he's got to do, but obviously it depends on that first time check of where he will be. And just wondering if they will have members of the team out on the course, just checking, just giving a time check along the way, because sometimes just that one time check at half distance isn't enough. Sometimes you want a little bit more, but it depends on where he sits amongst Van der Poel and where he is sat alongside him throughout the race. If you're up, obviously good for morale. If you're down and you're losing time, let's not forget he only has 3 seconds advantage, that buffer over Van der Poel.
This looks like
Niels Pollitt, you can see he's outside as well, but we'll watch the time for Niels Pollitt for the general classification, and he's just inside the 17 minutes, 16:59 for Niels Pollitt. So watch that as well for the general classification. He's 22 seconds down on the GC, so he'll be followed by Almond Grindal Janssen, Andre Amador, Ben Swift, and Mike Turnison. Eduardo Affini, the 12th man to start today. Well down on the general classification. Back out on the road now with Mathieu van der Poel for Corendon Circus. As Rob said, this effort will suit him. Those top-end efforts that you need from cyclocross and mountain biking. It makes you physiologically a very good time trialist. Yeah,
it gives you a big engine, doesn't it? And obviously he's got the skills to be able to deliver it smoothly on the road. Very nice position, it's got to be said, on the TT rig. But yep, that explosivity and that ability to sit right up in the red, right there at your threshold. That's what cyclocross mountain biking is all about. You deliver it in chunks of effort. Here it's a little bit smoother, a little bit more evened out, but the way that he performs on the road, I wouldn't put it past him today to be up there, right up there, just on the stage itself, let alone vying for limiting losses or gaining time on those around him in general classification.
He's inside 11 kilometers to go. We just caught a glimpse of the flying Jumbo-Visma rider, Mike Turnison, heading in towards the finish. He's wearing number 15 here. So you can see 10:37 a ride so far for Mike Turnison. We'll see what he's done on the intermediate time check as well. So this rider again, someone that we can't discount. Another cyclocross rider, a former under-23 world champion in the cyclocross. Now we're heading in towards the finish now. Armin Grøndal Jansen will be the next rider to finish. So Grøndal Jansen, again, just outside the 30 seconds down here. Grøndal Jansen wants to maintain his general classification position. 17:12 for Armin Grøndal Jansen.
In the colours of Jumbo-Visma, I have to say.
17:12. He's used to seeing him in his Norwegian national champions jersey. He's the road champion, so just like Ben Swift. Takes that jersey back into his team kit for the time trial. Mike Turnison, again, another man that can make this sort of effort. He has said that he's going to start to maybe look to introduce some more cyclocross back into his program. Teammates, of course, with Wout van Aert, formerly mixing it up with the likes of Mathieu van der Poel. And looking at yesterday, this man, as a lead-out man, he's close to perfection.
Yeah. Superb performer, the way that he delivers the power and obviously the way that he can sprint himself, taking out that first stage in the Tour and the yellow jersey. As we go down now to Matteo Trentin, last man out on the road, 11 kilometers to go, 3 seconds his advantage, back to second place in general classification, Mathieu van der Poel, and 10 seconds to Jasper de Voist, the Lotto Soudal rider, third from last on the road.
Now, these two riders, Mathieu van der Poel was saying, we haven't seen, I went back a long way. I mean, go back all the way back to his sort of younger days. He took a national title as a real youngster in his home country in the time trial. But for someone like Matteo Trentin, who's chasing him down behind, I kind of had to go back to 2017 Tour de France 14K time trial. And he did a 16-minute and 14-second ride in that one in the Tour de France. So he can time trial when he needs to, can Matteo Trentin. Sometimes it's not about he's not there. That's not his job to be able to do it. But Andre Amador comes up towards the line, 17:11 for Amador. Again, that's a good ride by Andre Amador.
Get your hands ready if you are alongside the
Amador will be followed by across the line by Swift, Turnison, and we have Clark, De Voist, Van der Poel and Trentin. That is the order out on the road. Let's have a look at our current standings. Still the Italian Edoardo Affini sitting at the top of the leaderboard, 7 seconds ahead of Sebastian Langefeld. Still Dylan van Baarle in third. Luke Durbridge still sitting there in fourth place. Daniel Kanga, great solid ride today from the EF Education first rider. Alex Dowsett, the British time trial champion, still in sixth. Jos van Emden is still in seventh. Sivakov, Friedel and Pollitt, Niels Pollitt in 10th, 20 seconds down. Is it going to be a stage victory today for that man? So Matteo Trentin, as we were saying, he's not known as a time trialist, but he can time trial.
Yeah, and it's all down to how you actually look at a time trial. At what point in a race do you commit yourself to a time trial if you're vying for general classification for the likes of Matteo Trentin? That's not often. And so it's a little bit of the unknown, and this man also in the unknown.
So where is the, let's have a look at the intermediate split as he heads towards it. 9:12 was Affini, but remember there's many riders, 10 riders. He's only 10th quickest at the intermediate split, is the man that currently sits in the hot seat at the finish. There's Mathieu van der Poel. So this is the intermediate split just ahead of him. Let's see what he goes through here. This is a solid ride here from Mathieu van der Poel. So he's going to go through here quicker than the man at the finish. 9:04, I would say there, before going through there. So at this point, we'll get confirmation of that. He's quicker than Affini. Ben Swift now in towards a finish. Ben Swift just over 30 seconds down on Affini. Good ride by the Ineos man, 17:21 for Ben Swift. Looking to try and maintain that general classification position is Ben Swift. Van der Poel looks like we'll get confirmation of it that he's gone through quickest.
Well, that's an incredible performance, and obviously put the pressure on this man here if he's getting that kind of information coming back through his race radio.
8 kilometers to go for Matteo Trentin in that green jersey. He would have had a lot of information from his teammates, especially the man that's sitting at the top of the leaderboard.
That's the thing. He's got riders. Mitchelton Scott have performed so well as a collective team, as a group, and so that information will be going back to the last man out on the road, Matteo Trentin. The more information you've got, filter it through. It's all to the good.
Mike Turnison comes down off that hill, and you're just trying to carry your speed through here, aren't you?
As much as you can, and it's pretty much all out. The taps are completely open here. You're not saving anything back. You're just delivering that power. It's flat. There aren't any more efforts to go through as we get into the final 30 seconds or so of your effort here.
Mike Turnison, you see there, has gone through the 500-meter to go point. These riders are just as well trying to keep themselves within striking distance of the general classification. The Jumbo-Visma man has done a lot of work this week as well, trying to deliver Dylan Groenewegen successfully so far to 3 stage victories. Now these are the days where he gets the opportunity to ride for himself, and Mike Turnison again is just about the 30 seconds down on Affini. That's a good time by Mike Turnison, 17:11 by Mike Turnison. So again, it's very close there to Ben Swift's time. So although these guys here, they might be 30 seconds off Affini, they've got to be within distance of each other in that top 10. Back out on the road with Trentin. So Matteo Trentin. So we said that Van der Poel stopped the clock, but he went through in about 9:04. Did Trentin. There's Mike Turnison just trying to recover after the finish. The next man into the finish will be Simon Clark. Then Jasper de Boist. Mathieu Van der Poel, though, out on the course. Great position on the time trial bike as Mathieu Van der Poel. And again, as a rider from Van der Poel, that going forward in his career, these, again, the time trials, showing that he can time trial. This is what the days where he needs to take that opportunity and make that effort.
Oh, level, absolutely level.
Look at that, Daniel Kang 9:04, but importantly, first and second on general classification. Mathieu Van der Poel, Matteo Trentin, absolutely level on time. Not only have we got a race on our hands on the back end of this time trial today, this will set things up beautifully for the last couple of days. And Mathieu Van der Poel and Matteo Trentin, true to form.
Well, both of them not only vying for the stage here, but obviously their time even at this point. So as it stands, going through that time check, Trentin was holding on to his advantage of 3 seconds on general classification. But as we've seen, riders have lost time over this second half. So it's all about how they've committed to it and how they deliver this second half.
Simon Clark, the Aussie, now in towards the finish. He went on the attack yesterday in the closing stages. And Clark, he went into today's stage at 17 seconds in the general classification. Expect him to go on the attack on the days to come. But now comes in towards the finish. 17:23.44 for Clark. 17:23.44. Again, good solid ride by him. So this will today as well turn the general classification on its head as well. Jasper de Boist. We haven't had let's see what this rider again has got. Jasper de Boist out on the road. So that time of Affini at the finish. So can anyone knock Affini off the top of the leaderboard? They're both Van der Poel and Matteo Trentin, both quicker at the intermediates, but the way the afternoon has gone, the way this time trial has panned out, Affini has managed to carry the speed all the way to the line. But again, there's something else here. This green jersey, the general classification fight.
Green jersey is not about the stage. That's not his priority. If it comes, then it comes, either of these riders. But it's about the time difference, that 3 second buffer over this man here, ahead of of Matteo Trentin in the green jersey. It's just those 3 seconds. This is really a battle. We've got a fight on our hands. This time trial, all important, very crucial to anybody looking for a top 10 position on general classification. You cannot afford to lose time here. For these guys, it's not about the stage. It may come, it's looking good for them, but it's more the battle, the individual battle between these two riders here that we're seeing.
Total contrast in styles. Jasper de Boist has been sprinting phenomenally well this week as well, on the flat, on the hills. The Lotto Soudal rider, he will want to keep his general classification hopes alive. He's going to be around the 30-second mark down on Eduardo Affini in terms of the stage. Good time trial by Jasper de Boist, 30.74 down for Jasper de Boist, so 17.10. He went into the stage in 3rd overall. It's the best time trial I've seen for a while from de Boist.
Yep, de Boist at 10 seconds from Matteo Trentin, 7 seconds behind this man here, Van der Poel, but 7 seconds ahead of Simon Clark from EF Education at the start of the stage.
Van der Poel, echoes of Bradley Wiggins in that position, isn't there?
Hand one on top of the other, coming into the finish here now. Final couple of kilometres coming through, not far.
Mathieu van der Poel, 1 kilometre to go now for the Corendon Circus man. You can see him just carrying that speed, accelerating now as he heads back in towards Pershore. Looking at the clock, I would say he's going to be slightly outside the time of Eduardo Affini at the line, but it's going to be touch and go. 16:09 so far and counting for van der Poel. But again, remember, it's all about the battle for the green jersey as well. And the general classification goes through 500 meters at 16:19. Van der Poel, you can see now the shoulders just starting to rock and roll as he heads up towards the final few hundred meters.
Very quick here, 300 meters to go now. Absolutely committed, head down. He just hasn't come out of that position, has he? Right the way through.
He hasn't. Mathieu van der Poel, he's going to be outside the time of Eduardo Affini. 100 meters to go towards the line. Van der Poel, last little sprint now, crosses the line. 16:51.81 for van der Poel. Let's see that time now, how that compares to Matteo Trentin behind him. Great ride by van der Poel. And with 1 rider to go, will the stage victory go to Eduardo Affini? But where will the green jersey end up? Van der Poel rolls around after the finish, just trying to recover. Out on the road now, Matteo Trentin battling to try and save this jersey. Him and Van der Poel were level at that intermediate time split.
2 minutes behind on the road for the start for Trentin, last man out on the road.
So look at the time, 15:39 and counting. We've seen the runs in so far. You come down off this descent, hit the Flamme Rouge, and then try and carry that speed all the way in towards the finish. Matteo Trentin, you look at this now with this race, and in terms of how these two are looking, Van der Poel and Trentin, he's losing time here, so 16:51.81 was the time at the finish of Van der Poel. Looks like Trentin's lost a bit of time.
He has lost a little bit of time over Van der Poel, I think.
So that buffer going into today's stage, 3 seconds, but for Trentin as well, he's just got to keep himself as close as he can to Van der Poel for the sprints. In flat sprints, Van der Poel says it himself, he feels that Trentin's got the advantage.
Well, it's nip and tuck. I think he's going to lose just a little bit of time. Losing just a little bit over Van der Poel. Is it going to be within 3 seconds, though? Because if it is, he will keep that jersey. But if he finishes outside, then obviously it will swap again.
Here he is now up towards the line. Matteo Trentin fighting to try and keep hold of it. 100 meters to go. 16:51.81 was the time of Mathieu van der Poel. He crosses the line now. 17.78. 17 minutes, 10.78. It's going to be close, but it looks like Van der Poel has taken back that jersey.
He has. He's been able to hold on. But for the stage, Affini, he's been there pretty much the entire stage. But Well, he won't be overly worried about that jersey for his teammate at the moment. It's all about his individual victory. But there it looks like Matteo Trentin has lost just a little bit of time over that second half. Van der Poel holding on.
Matteo Trentin, one of the strongest time trials that we've seen from Matteo Trentin. And, there, just sits down, just lets himself recover. What an effort from Matteo Trentin. Just checking out everything now. Matteo Trentin, good ride by him today with 2 stages still to come. Tomorrow we have a hilltop finish for Matteo Trentin.
Well, it looks like he's lost that jersey by around 5 or 6 seconds, I think, to Mathieu van der Poel.
The aerial shots, what a great venue for a time trial Pershaw has given us today. Great circuit, a real time trialist circuit, you would say here in stage 6. There's our stage results.
Caleb Ewan did well there, didn't he?
He did, didn't he? There's Elia Viviani there as well. We'll bring that one back. That's one of our one of our
testing
rules
us.
from the past.
Do you know what? They're just making sure that we're
They're just making sure we're awake, aren't they? We'll wait for our stage results. There it is. They're struggling a little bit there. We'll wait for this one. We'll bring you confirmation of our result momentarily. But the stage win today definitely goes to Eduardo Affini from Mitchelton Scott. Matteo Trentin just rolling away, just will want to cool down as well after that time trial effort. Good to see him getting that opportunity to really have a good hit out in the time trial. What a day for Mitchelton Scott as well. Eduardo Affini, true to form. We said he could be the favourite for the stage today, and he delivers. Pershaw here. Very famous local foods, very famous for its plums and its asparagus is Pershaw. A beautiful market town, dating back to some of the buildings to the 16th century. Dylan van Baal, Daniel Kangat. What a time trial today. Daniel Kangat. To Sebastian Langerfeld there, crossing the line. And there's your stage winner. Eduardo Affini locked in to that time trial position. And really, again, this time trial, everyone's talking about this man as a potential winner of the World Time Trial Championships, and he's got great form. There you have it, celebrations, as you would expect, for Eduardo Affini. Confirmation of your time trial result. Eduardo Affini takes it by 7 seconds from Sebastian Langerfeld and Dylan van Baal. Luc Durbridge at 4th at 8 seconds. Then came Daniel Kangat at 10. Mathieu van der Poel 6th at 12 seconds. Dowsett, Van Emden, Sivakov and Frison were your top 10. 20 seconds separating them in the general classification. But it's that man there in 6th. Mathieu van der Poel in terms of the general classification. He's the rider we've got our eye on. So Pershaw Abbey, you can see here, founded in 689 AD by King Oswald. It's the heart of the community for over 1,000 years. Our general classification now looks like this. Mathieu van der Poel battles his way back in to the leader's green jersey. He now leads Matteo Trentin by 6 seconds, 24 back to Sivakov. Jasper de Boist still holds fourth. He drops to fourth at 26. Pollitt at 27. Then Moscon, Ternison, Kangat, Amador and Janssen, your top 10. But let's hear from today's stage winner, Edoardo Affini.
In that hot seat, how stressful was it watching each and every rider go out?
Well, it was probably more stressful to stay in the hot seat than doing the TT. Well, but it's worth it. I mean, it's a really nice victory and I'm really happy with it.
Who worried you the most when they went down that ramp?
Well, I think more or less we know each other. We know who is really strong in the TT, and guys like Van Endem, Van Baarle, Langeveld, you know, they were all for sure strong. But yeah, I managed to do a good TT and pace myself well. So I was really able to give everything in the way back home, and yeah, I'm really happy.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thanks.
Today's stage winner, Edoardo Affini. And a good season that he is having as the 23-year-old Italian rider. And there he is in towards the finish. What a time trial position.
They've really got it drilled. They've got it nailed, haven't they? Dialed in extremely well. Mitchelton Scott. And that's the thing, it's not rocket science. You look at the top performers in the time trials and you look at their position compared to a lot of the other guys, and visually completely different.
Pershore Abbey, you can see there, there's the helicopter. Just circles here. A great time trial circuit that we had here today, and it really has affected the general classification, but not by an awful lot. Your stage results, so the stage goes to the 23-year-old Italian from Mitchelton Scott, Edoardo Affini, 7 seconds ahead of the Dutch riders Sebastian Langeveld and Dylan van Baarle. Great time trial performances from them. Affini's teammate Luke Durbridge up there in fourth. Great time trial today, you would say, from Daniel Kangat today in 10th. Van der Poel, though, in 6th at 12 seconds. Dowsett, Van Emden, Sivakov and Friesen, 20 seconds separating that top 10 overall. Going into stage 7, your general classification now looks like this, but it's still tight in this year's Tour of Britain. Mathieu van der Poel takes over again in green from Matteo Trentin. It's 6 seconds. Pavel Sivakov moves up from 10th to 3rd. Jasper de Boist drops to 4th. Pollitt in 5th, Moscon, Ternison, Kangat, Amador and Grøndal Janssen, 40 seconds separating your top 10. Rob, intermediate sprints at the finish. This race isn't over at all.
All to play for, isn't it? But Sivakov, you've got to say, doing a superb performance, moving himself up from 10th into a potential podium position. And that man there crossing the line, Van der Poel holding on for an extremely solid performance. He was a little bit under the radar. Well, we didn't know, well, wasn't under the radar, but we just weren't sure how he could perform against the likes of Matteo Trentin here. We know Trentin can ride a good solid time trial, but Van der Poel 6th on the stage, only 12 seconds off Edoardo Affini, but enough to take the jersey, reversing his 3-second deficit over Matteo Trentin and turning that into a 6-second advantage.
I think one of the battles that, when you look back over the last, couple of years in terms of where Mathieu van der Poel, Wout van Aert started to appear, that European Championships in Glasgow, which was won by Matteo Trentin. That was one where we started to see what they can do in terms of the road. A few people today be looking at this performance by Van der Poel in the time trial and going, okay, he can time trial as well.
Yeah, he can do everything. We've got to see him on a BMX yet. I'm sure he has been on one. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot that he can't do.
Not at all. And the effort by Mathieu van der Poel today. Pershore, I'm sure we'll be back here again. It's a great destination that we've had, and a lot of the history around here, the monastery in Pershore, it was one of the final monasteries to be dissolved by King Henry VIII But its local inhabitants managed to save the church from destruction. And they purchased that for £400 for their own use. Did the residents back in history. Dylan van Baal and Sebastian Langeveld here again. They're riders that, when we see them do these performances, sometimes out of their national championships is not really, you know, it's the only place that they get to time trial at full effort.
Yeah, and second and third, respectively, Langeveld and Van Baal on the stage. Just pushing Luke Durbridge down into fourth, but here all about Affini.
Just crossing the line there. Let's have a look at Eduardo Affini's performance. 12th rider to start. He has done a lot of work this week for Eduardo Affini. That has for Matteo Trentin, my apology. It meant that he had the freedom today, well down in the general classification. No threat, but one of the strongest and emerging time trialists in world cycling. Takes the stage. He went through the intermediate time check when he was out there quickest, but 9 riders went quicker than him throughout that point. But at the finish, it was the second part of his time trial where Affini carried his speed. He spent the day in that hot seat and the stage victor today.
All right. Happy days for Mitchelton Scott. In terms of the stage, okay, they have lost that jersey from Matteo Trentin, so job to do for them, work to come over the next 2 stages, but those time bonuses could very well play a part.
There you have it, the helicopter just showing us Pershore Abbey, one of the finest examples of Norman and early English architecture in the country. Matteo van der Poel was in his bus, just trying to recover. Let's have a look at Van der Poel's ride here, the Corendon Circus. Man, it was really a ride into the unknown when he rolled off that start gate. We haven't seen Mathieu van der Poel time trialing very much, but the effort from mountain biking and cyclocross very similar to the time trial effort. He went through the intermediate time split. He was level with Matteo Trentin, but he managed to build his speed, and he crossed the line with 16:51.81. Not enough for the stage win, but the only man behind him, Matteo Trentin, had lost some seconds on his nearest rival in the general classification coming in towards the line, and after losing that jersey yesterday, he now regains it. Let's have a look at Matteo Trentin's ride, rolling away in that Green Ovo Energy Leaders jersey here in the Tour of Britain. And Matteo Trentin is saying the best time trial performances that we've seen a couple of years ago in the opening stage of the Tour de France. So again, we weren't sure what to expect, but his teammates were talking him up this morning. We know that Matteo Trentin can ride. He's such an all-rounder. The first part of his ride, as we said, he went through that intermediate split level with Van der Poel. Couldn't quite hold it to the line, but he is still within striking distance. 17 minutes. Deb 0.78. The bonus seconds to come on the final 2 days. This race could potentially go right down to these final sprints. Matteo Trentin, he defended his lead, you would say, in the end. And let's go down and hear from Matteo Trentin now.
Of course, a big fight for you at the top of the general classification. Now second, 6 seconds, but there's a lot you can do tomorrow.
Oh, there's 2 days to go. Start to be harder and harder every day.
How stressful was it coming into the time trial, knowing how important it was today?
It wasn't stressful. At the end, you race by yourself, so it's pretty good. You need to do it with yourself. That's all. I think I do the best as I could. Yeah, I was kind of expecting to losing a little bit. 6 seconds is not the end of the world, but still, it's going to be hard to take it back.
And a great day for your teammate.
Yeah. Eduardo made a really, really good time trial, and he's super young, and it's good for him going into the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matteo Trentin, great defense. I think he's got to be happy with that. 6 seconds, as he said, it's going to be tough, but those intermediate sprints, 3 seconds on offer on those, 10, 6 and 4 at the line. We've seen him battling for those throughout this week.
He's, well, he's a bike racer and he's got a race on his hands, so he'll be in his comfort zone in that respect. His team are riding superbly well, obviously, and just looking at the performance that they've got, as Van der Poel for once is actually struggling to move forward.
That effort clearly hurt that one, didn't
Normally
it?
we would see him jump off his bike there, on his shoulder and straight over the barriers.
Normally you'd see him bunny hop the barrier, wouldn't you? I'd love to see him clear that one. Mathieu van der Poel is making his way towards the podium as the new race leader. We'll be waiting for our stage presentation. A great time trial coming here on stage 6. It really has given us a really exciting final couple of days, hasn't it?
It's really set this up for a true battle here in the Tour of Britain. Well, if anything's to be believed, the weather is we're going to have another warm spell. Bit of a heat wave, certainly hot racing to come.
Yeah, 20 to 22, 21 to 22 degrees Celsius we had today, and a beautiful sunny day.
I'm sure there will be people around the world thinking, well, that's still jumper weather, but here in the UK, anything but. As Mick Bennett, just with the new race leader, Van der Poel, as he, well, downs here. That's the thing, you've got to drink and feed for tomorrow and the day after.
There's that feeling, isn't there, in your throat and in your lungs after a time trial. It's trying to feel comfortable again.
Yes, you've got to get the recovery in straight away. And is that to his parents or his agent just sending a message? Stock is going through the roof for Mathieu van der Poel.
It is. He's got to be up there as a favourite for the World Championships in Yorkshire, you would say. So is the likes of Matteo Trentin, the riders that we're seeing in action here. Here he is, your stage winner here on stage 6 in Pershore, Edoardo Affini, the Italian for Mitchelton Scott, takes a great stage victory. Tall man, we've seen him working on the front, and now for Mitchelton Scott and Matteo Trentin, that will now shift back again to Corendon Circus. We saw a lot of the Corendon Circus riders today really riding within themselves, very mindful that if Van der Poel took the lead again, they would have to work tomorrow for Affini, and then they can now go on the attack again for Mitchelton Scott. They've got to take the race to Corendon Circus, but it's a welcome stage win for that man today. Tomorrow we have the hilltop finish in Burton Dassett Country Park. We finished a stage of the Ergo Energy Women's Tour there earlier on in the year. There gave us a great finish, so it's a good hill. But looking at tomorrow again, Rob, it's Mathieu van der Poel written all over it.
All over it, isn't it? Trentin has got his teammates. We do have an intermediate sprint, vital 3-second time bonus at Berkswell, just after 19 kilometers of racing. So this man has got to be on his guard.
Mathieu van der Poel back onto the podium, pulls on the green leader's jersey here in the OVO Energy Tour of Britain. Tomorrow's stage, the finish, a little climb up towards the finish at Burton Dassett Country Park. It is a perfect finish for him again, looking at how he took the stage in Kendall, but he now leads Matteo Trentin once again in the general classification. There you have it. Let's leave you with some pictures of the day. Mathieu van der Poel back in the lead. Affini takes a stage victory. From me, Martin McDonald and Rob Hales. Join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.
jerseys. That's what we do. Yeah, are you talking to us?
I'll make that one. No, I want one printed up with this. I want a proper warm one.
Yeah. Glorious day in the Worcestershire countryside this afternoon. Probably not so glorious if you had to dig deep and do a sub 70-minute time trial, of course. But what great entertainment for the crowds in and out of Pershore. Really fascinating time trial stage. And it really came to an exciting conclusion as those last two riders on GC came into the finish. Matteo Trentin losing the green jersey once again to Mathieu van der Poel. But Janto, it really is hanging in the balance, just some 6 seconds separating them now. I think this is going to go all the way to the finish in Manchester on Saturday.
Definitely. I mean, 6 seconds is nothing. There's probably a stage to suit Van der Poel and then a couple of stages and some intermediate sprints to suit Trentin. So who's going to come out on top probably will come down to who wants it most.
We will talk more about them in just a second, but let's concentrate on the man who did win today's stage, young Edoardo Affini of Mitchelton Scott. Only 23, only a neo-pro with Mitchelton Scott this year, but he does have solid form. He was under 23 national road race champion and national time trial champion in Italy, and the beauty of his ride, Janto, was he went off steady and he just got quicker and quicker in the second half.
Well, I reckoned the course and I said two things. I said the winning time will be 16:40 and the winner will have to pace it just right. And he did exactly that. He did what's called a negative split, which was the second part was the fastest part because there was 9 guys went faster than him at the intermediate time split.
The one thing we didn't say was his name. To be fair, your predictions were excellent, but he's kept his powder dry this week. He's been working very much in the service of team leader Matteo Trentin. He sat on that hot seat for most of the day, and that's what it looked like when he knew the win was his. Really pleased. And I think it's fair to say that this really is his arrival at senior level. As I say, only a neo-pro this year with Mitchelton Scott. He went very close to winning a stage at the Binkbank Tour in Holland last month. He came second in the individual time trial there, but he beat some big names as well. Jos van Emden, Bob Youngles there, he beat as well. Riders with great time trialing form, and now we can add his name to that list.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't call his name out at the start of the morning today, but he well and truly landed himself on the radar now, and I think everyone's going to be looking out for him in future time trials.
Well, could they be looking out for him in Yorkshire at the end of the month? Is it too soon for him to perhaps step up and challenge for the World Time Trial title? It's something he's done at junior and under 23 level, on the national level.
You know very well that cycling is a lot about experience, and it will be really important for him to come here to the UK, to Yorkshire, to do a really solid time. Even if he doesn't win, it will go into the bank where he can, recall that experience to go for future years, and hopefully, we could well see him as a World Time Trial champion.
Let's hear now from the young Italian himself, Edoardo Affini.
A very long day, sat in that hot seat. How stressful was it watching each and every rider go out?
Well, it was probably more stressful to stay in the hot seat than doing the TT. Well, but it's worth it. I mean, it's a really nice victory and I'm really happy with it.
Who worried you the most when they went down that ramp?
Well, I think more or less we know each other. We know who is really strong in the TT, and guys like Van Emden, Van Baarle, Langeveld, they were all for sure strong. But yeah, I managed to do a good TT and pace myself well, so I was really able to give everything in the way back home, and I'm really happy.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thanks.
So much more impressive when you realise how hard he's been working to help Matteo Trentin maintain the green jersey this week. And I hate to say it for his benefit, but he's going to have to work even harder the next couple of days as well, because Trentin is now out of the green jersey, a 6-second deficit to Mathieu van der Poel, and Van der Poel can do anything on his day. And he wasn't going to challenge for the stage today, but he gave it his all. He can go very deep, as we said before. Yeah,
well, he said he wasn't challenging for the stage overall, but he was very close, and at the intermediate time split quicker than Affini there on the run-in. So actually a very, very solid time from Van der Poel here, and just shows he is such an all-rounder. He can really do virtually anything.
A couple of really exciting young talents, let's be honest. And great to see as well, the last two men on GC are the last two men to go down the ramp, and they were just, you had Trentin trying to peg him, trying to gain time on him, and it was touch and go Well, right to the time that Trentin rolled in over the line, and we knew that he'd lost some time and lost the jersey to Van der Poel.
Absolutely. He really dug deep. Trentin dug very, very deep to get as close as he did. And I think deep down he probably always knew he was going to sort of struggle on the actual winning the time trial, but he really pushed hard.
Let's hear quickly now from the man in green.
Back in to the green leader's jersey, you must be delighted with that time trial.
Yeah, of course. It was a really long time ago. I did a proper time trial, so I'm kind of happy with the result.
Very good indication of form for you ahead of the World Championships.
Yeah, of course. An individual time trial on such a hard course, it's always a good indication, I think. And my legs felt really good today, so let's hope the following days will be as good. And it's a really close battle with Matteo in the first place, and he already showed his fast legs to get the bonus second, so I think it's going to be a proper fight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so tomorrow should suit him. Having a look at the route profile of Warwick to Burton Dasset Country Park on Route 7, 188.7 kilometres, but the last 50 have 4 categorised climbs in it. It suits his kind of riding.
Yeah, and very importantly, it finishes at the top of the Burton Dasset climb, which is very steep and very hard. They get to recce it 2 times before they go through, but I think it does suit Van der Poel again. So if Trentin wants to keep it, he's going to have to think of something special.
Fun times, can't wait for that. Look, there is the highlights of the Vuelta coming up at 7 o'clock on ITV4. Wonder if they'll go faster than yesterday. Almost impossible. We're back with highlights of today's time trial stage live from Pershore in Worcestershire at 8 o'clock. Join us then if you can. Bye-bye.
The big German Niels Pollitt driving for the and finish line here today. The first of our riders. If you look at on the finishing line here, back up to where.
So away goes Frederick Twisson, former.
That's our new leader, folks. 17:43, Tahil Verhege.
Eduardo Affini from Liverpool Scott is underway.
Minutes and 59 seconds. Second fastest, Tom Stewart.
Sprinter, Mark Cavendish, let's make some noise. There you go.
Come on, Pershore, lift it, get your hands on the boards. Mark Cavendish coming to the line right now. There he is, Gediminas Bogdanas, rocking and rolling as he comes to the line. He's going to be on a very similar time to Harry Tanfield.
Eduardo Affini, it'll be a good gauge as to where they are. You can see he's just outside the time at the moment. He's just going to be over the 17-minute mark.
Clock, he's going to be so close. There it is, and he's just outside. Alex Dowsett is going to be right up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Jumbo-Visma team, here he comes. 10 seconds down at the moment. 11, 12, 13, 14 on the line. 15. Dylan Van Baarle on the line and so close.
A huge sigh of relief again. Eduardo Affini in that position. He's been there.
Florian Stork continuing the tradition of strong German time trialing. These riders are riding slightly within themselves to get through that time gap. Luke Durbridge on the line is going to be 6 seconds down, 7 seconds. That. Crossing point, he has 50 meters to go, Kanga. 5 seconds, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds. Genesis. Gianni Moscon on the line. Coming our way right now. 11 seconds at this stage outside, but he's on a good ride, the big Russian. There we go. The big German Niels Pollitt driving for the line. He's had a good ride for a man who can sprint, time trial and do it all. 25 seconds down, so he's going to be very close to that time of Ben Swift. Jasper de Burst comes to the line. What a ride by the sprinter. White socks, you can see coming towards you right now. Mathieu van der Poel sprints for the line. He is going to be just outside 10 seconds. Leader, ladies and gentlemen, in the green jersey, Matteo Trentin, finishing outside by 20 seconds.
It's going to be close, but it looks like Van der Poel has taken back that jersey.
All right.
Grazie.